I remember. Okay.
Okay, it's live. See if this is working here. What is up? What's up? It's iCkEdMeL. If you didn't know already, let me just fix the settings a little bit because I just launched this shit. I wanted to talk a little bit about this earlier. I mean, I did the little videos, but I didn't have much time. I just had to post the videos. I didn't even do a thumbnail for this live stream. Maybe I should throw one up. How you guys doing? Welcome. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the notebook and maybe get some feedback. I even got a comment from somebody that said that they believe Brian's story, and they were like for real too about it. So let me just fix this a little bit here, give people a minute to join. Make sure we're up and running. Hola. Hola, hola. And they're also saying something else from WFLA. That supposedly, let me see if I can, well, let me fix the screens here too, because this is always jacked up every time I start. Okay. Let's go right there. And supposedly, too, Gabby Petito family attorney claims Roberta Laundrie sent letter to son Mark Byrne after you read. We're going to listen to a little bit of WFLA, too. Just this snippet from their live stream earlier. When we get settled, let me put in the tags here. Brian Laundrie. And if you guys could hit like too, please, I'd appreciate that. Thank you for stopping by. Let me first. Well, okay. If you didn't know, the basic thing, I guess today the Petito family attorney Patrick Riley. Let me just, I guess, put myself on the big screen. Patrick Riley and myself met with the FBI in Tampa to sort through and take possession of personal items that belong to Gabby and Brian. Laundrie family attorney Steve Bertolino told Fox News, as part of this return of property in FBI custody, I was given Brian's notebook, and I have turned the same over to Chris and Roberta. So I guess they said that, I guess Bertolino released this, the notebooks from earlier. And let me get this comment real quick too, because somebody posted this. Because I think there's some people that out there that believe Brian's story, and then I did see Brian Enton, right? Yeah. Enton, he was stating that he doesn't believe there's no way it's true, and he even posted a clip of him being at that creek. But let me read you this person's story. I'm a little out of breath because I was trying to do some push-ups. Catch myself. So this person commented, I believe he told the truth. I have slipped in a creek on a wet stone. It's dangerous. He says that he would have gone get the car/van, but he worried that the fire will go out and she will die. The fire pit was found by her body. If he loved her so much, why did he leave her there dead to be rotting open? Why didn't he go to the nearest I don't know what she said there, or police? It seemed he panicked and did what he thought was best for her. So there's people out there that believe that Brian Laundrie's telling the truth. They're on his side. She also says here, let's see. He was clearly convinced she is dying in the middle of nowhere, no signal, cars, God knows where, which Brian Enton says that it was actually really close, that the vehicle wasn't that far. Or the road or whatever, or I don't know, the creek. He stayed with her and tried warming her. Obviously, he thought that was the best move at the time. I found my foster son face down in his vomit with hypothermia. I panicked, but I called emergency because I had signal. Body temperature was 34. And I think JB was saying like the temperature was like in the 30s or 40s out there, something like that. It says here, so the temperature was at 34. At this stage, one would go into a coma, but before anything, I screamed for help and someone to bring a blanket. It took time warming him up, then called emergency because I could. It seems Brian couldn't call 911 and his van was far, but still very confusing confession. So there's some people, and I spoke to a friend too on Facebook that told me she partly believes his story. Let me show you this clip that Enton posted. Brian Enton. Let's see. So he says earlier, I guess in response, I've been to the spot where Gabby was killed. It's right next to the creek Laundrie referenced in his letter, and the creek is next to where the van was parked. The van was right there. If she was really hurt, why not take her to a hospital or call someone? I had cell service there. So that's Brian's response to that. He's also going to be on tonight, Banfield. Lewis just reminded me that cell service was in fact so good that they were able to stream Bethune's blog video on YouTube from the spot. I was using the video to pinpoint exactly where the van was, and so he posted this clip here. I don't know. And some people think that Brian's still alive. I saw some people asking about, we're going to take a look at JB's a clip from the live stream, but I saw people saying that they believe that Brian didn't write that. And how did they know that the Laundrie wrote that? And that maybe it was his parents that wrote that. And they need an analyst and all that stuff. It's kind of crazy. Play a little bit.
Is not going to be commenting in the aftermath of this, but that doesn't mean that the other side doesn't want to have their story heard. And so what I'd like to do, I'm going to hold up my phone here to the microphone. Joining us now on WFLA Now is attorney Pat Riley. Pat, you're live across all platforms.
So that's the guy I just read in this article. Pat Riley, he's the Petito family attorney.
Just so you're aware.
All right. Hi, JB.
Hi there, Pat. Pat, of course, who folks saw in court during the pretrial hearing in Sarasota County Court a couple of days ago. Pat, you contacted me, and I'll give you just the kind of floor and to say what you'd like to say in the aftermath of this.
Yeah, as I had said to you earlier, I was kind of shocked that this was released within about a half an hour after we left the FBI office up in Tampa. And I find it ironic that Mr. Bertolino says he wants, in full transparency, was releasing this.
And I'm kind of curious when I heard that, right, that it was released so fast. And I'm kind of curious what you guys think in the chat. Do you think Bertolino released this because of this whole lawsuit thing? That maybe this somehow, like, this benefits the parents or something, or from this lawsuit to try to, like, get out of culpability? And I don't know if you guys want me to. If you guys want to, I can reread. God forbid I have to read, right? Reread the note, because I was thinking we could do calls if anybody wants to call in and give their opinion or a specific point and then letter that they want to call out. And I just thought this ending was so freaking weird too. Like, please pick up all of my things. Gabby hated people who litter. Another point that people made in the comments that I saw that I thought was really good was, it says here, I have killed myself by this creek in the hopes that animals may tear me apart. Like, this dramatic shit. Like, I've killed myself by this creek in hopes that the animals tear me apart, that it make her family happy. As if, like, some sort of, like, this is going to bring peace for people and shit. But then somebody pointed out, but you left Gabby out there too, to succumb to nature, animals, and whatever else. Right? So he's putting this as if it's some sort of, like, I don't know, martyrdom, whatever they call it. But it just kind of seems like BS to me. And then also with the whole strangulation cause of death. You want me to read it? We can read it. After we listen to this audio here, if the people want me to recap, we can read it together. What's up? Please hit like if you guys wouldn't mind. I'd appreciate it. Helps out the stream.
Well, someone should ask him why he doesn't release the entire notebook, but more importantly, ask him why he doesn't release Roberta Laundrie's letter to her son.
A letter to her son. So Roberta authored a letter to her son. Can you explain more of what you're referencing here? Because this is news to us.
Well, the letter has, Mr. Bertolino has the letter. I don't have a copy of the letter, but the letter appears to be written to Brian after Gabby was killed, and there's some pretty extreme things that she said in there that, without having the letter here to quote it, I don't want to say, but I will simply tell you that there's some pretty extreme things that were contained within that letter.
When was this letter authored by Roberta Laundrie, and where is the whereabouts of it now? What can you tell us about it from those questions?
The letter is undated, so it's uncertain when it was written, but certainly based upon what's contained within the letter, it would appear as though the letter were written after Gabby was killed and before Brian took his life. And the letter is currently in the possession of Mr. Bertolino.
Was that one of the items?
I will tell you, by the way, that on the envelope that contained the letter, the words "burn after you read this" were written.
And who authored those words? I'm just trying to be as precise as I can.
Roberta Laundrie.
And
Donna says, why would she write him that? I have no idea. And they're saying that there is no date on there, so we don't know when this was written. And yeah, what is the contents of that letter? Thought Criminal says, who's speaking? This is the Petito family attorney.
Again, that was written and that was delivered to whom?
Brian.
And was this one of the items that was retrieved today from the FBI, Tampa? And
yes.
And is this, you have alluded to me in multiple phone calls, Pat, about evidence that you have to back up the allegations that you have made in the civil lawsuit. Is this one of the pieces of evidence that you've been alluding to for so long?
Absolutely.
And where does the letter fit in to as far as this story that we are now learning of, with Brian's words, his final words as revealed in the notebook? Where does the letter fit in relation to the story in the notebook?
I don't know that the letter necessarily fits in with the story of what's in the notebook. I'm simply responding to Mr. Bertolino suggesting that he's trying to be transparent, but he's picking and choosing what he wants to be transparent about.
So this is now...
and they don't have any obligation to release that. So Bertolino releasing these, Brian's notebook or whatever, it's for whatever benefit he feels that is, which maybe it has to do with the lawsuit or something. I don't know. Maybe he hopes that the judge will read this or something, and maybe to hope it won't go forward. I don't know.
You believe, of course, that this was released by Stephen, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you believe that this was released by Stephen Bertolino as a chess move in this civil lawsuit?
I candidly don't know why it was released by Mr. Bertolino. That was a question that I've been pondering since it was released. I don't know if it was released in an effort to try to find some kind of sympathy for Brian because of what's contained in there. I don't see that. If he's trying to garner sympathy, I don't think that's going to work because it's an admission that he killed her. And even more so, if this was the woman he loved and there's supposed to be some sympathy, he left her body there and told no one where she was, or at least not my clients where she was.
One more time, the cover of the envelope, according to you, did you see this envelope today at FBI Tampa?
I did.
And again, it said what?
Words to the word, and this may not be the exact words, but it was burn after you read this.
And it was a letter that Roberta was giving to Brian.
Yes.
And so burn after you read this. Jesus. Why would in your words, why would a mother deliver that letter to her son? This is a family that was on vacation together after.
And why wasn't it burnt? Why didn't he burn it if that's the case? Has to be a chess move, no? Or some sort of move or play. There's no benefit. Like they said, Bertolino released it. From what I hear, it was released to Bertolino and Roberta, and then he released it, I think, to Roberta and the other guy.
Returning after Brian returned home. Can you provide some clarity as to why Roberta would say that to her son and do so in the form of a letter? I mean, they're communicating, I'm sure. I mean, Brian returned home to Northport. He's returning back and living under the same roof as his mother and father. So then why would this letter exist?
I don't know if that letter was written before or after he came back to Northport, but there was the most I want to say is that there was an offer to assist Brian with some things in that letter.
I wonder what to assist with. One of the other points that I saw that somebody made in a comment section somewhere, and they were talking about, well, you know what, in the middle of this trip, Brian Laundrie, he gets up and he takes a flight back to, I think, to Florida, it was, right? And I believe that at that point is when I thought he moved things out of storage. Some people feel like that was maybe premeditation, though it still could be that they were doing really bad, arguing, fighting, and they were going to break up anyway. But some people thought like maybe they were already planning something. I saw something like that in the comment section.
An offer to assist Brian with some things in that letter. You have alluded to, Pat, and it's written in black and white in the lawsuit. You have made the claim that Chris and Roberta Laundrie attempted to help their son Brian flee the country. Is that a part of this letter, this note? No, that's not a part of the note. Not to my recollection, no. Because we're now getting some different, you know, I'm just trying to figure out exactly where this factors in and where this fits in, because we have the allegation, the civil lawsuit, that they were trying to help him get out of the country, but now this burn envelope letter is part of the equation. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly where this all fits in chronologically and how it fits into the relationship that existed between Brian and his mother. I guess the most I can say, because again, it was undated, and so I'm guessing when the letter was actually written. Again, I'm fairly certain it was between the time period of Gabby's passing and then Brian committing suicide. So I don't know the exact date it was written. I don't know when it was delivered, but it was found on Brian, or actually it was found in the van when he came back. So
I was wondering, I thought maybe it was like found on his body and it had to come, but they're saying in the van when he came back. I guess when they took the van, when they impounded the van. By the way, guys, welcome so much. Thank you so much for coming to the live stream. Please hit like. I'd appreciate that. What's up, me, you, Lexa, Jazzmin? Thank you, the mods, for coming through. Don, I saw Lutfi there. I see Lutfi. Care, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Gracias, Bridget. It's kind of interesting. I'm surprised, though. All this time later, we're still into this story of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, and it's still going to be going for a while, it seems like, unless the judge stops the lawsuit. But then I guess they can appeal it, or the civil whatever.
I'm led to believe that he had that, he received that before he came back to Northport, but I don't know that for certain.
Oh, so the letter was found in the van?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, no. The letter was found in the Laundrie's home, but it had been taken out of the van. Gotcha.
Okay, so now according to Pat Riley, of course, who we're on the phone with here on WFLA now, there's this the presence of this letter that exists. Pat, did you read the letter today while you were with FBI Tampa?
I did.
What can you tell us about it other than what it said on the cover of the envelope?
I can tell you that the letter contained an offer from Roberta Laundrie to assist Brian Laundrie.
And you won't tell us what?
I prefer not to say exactly what it said until I have the letter in front of me, or you have the letter in front of you and you can see exactly what it says.
To assist Brian in something, but again, this was found and was taken from the van, but found in the Laundrie home, so it's likely dated at some point before Brian returned home to Northport, or at least in that time window. So you're alluding to, and you're not telling us what it is, but you are alluding to Brian being offered help by his mother Roberta to do something that we're not being told what that is at this time.
Correct.
Okay. Your reaction to this story that Brian left behind. I'm sure by now, of course, you have read the 8 pages of the notebook. I'm sure by now that you and your clients have had an opportunity to at least process it. What do you make of Brian Laundrie's story that It was that he heard a splash, a scream, that she was cold, and that he was told by her not to leave her side and to stay by the fire. And this story that has been presented by Brian and his final words to the world, what do you and your clients make of this story?
That's a version. There's another version. I don't have a copy of the other version yet, but I've been advised there's another version that he authored that we will be getting, hopefully through the Freedom of Information request.
He's saying this is one version, and what? There's another letter? Is that what he means by that? I know a lot of people were watching WFLA earlier. I didn't watch the whole thing. This is just a snippet. So they're saying there's another version, another letter, and then we got now Roberta's letter to her son, which they say was found in the house, but it was taken from the van.
It does not entirely match up this particular version.
So you're saying that there is a second note of confession?
Yes.
Lord Almighty.
Is it
Christ.
a written note of confession, or is it another different form of a confession? I ask this because I know that these two were so tech savvy, and somebody who really lived a lot of their life, at least they were very prevalent on social media. So is this a written note, or is this something else?
It's on a device.
It's a device. Is it a typed out note?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
So you're saying that there is a second note that has been typed out on a device that you do not have possession of and was not part of the gathering of evidence today by FBI Tampa?
Correct.
What the heck?
And I want to just confirm, are you saying that the story that is told in this digital note doesn't match what is laid out in this written note?
It's similar, but it's not the same. But neither, this note makes no sense as to what happened.
In what way? Please elaborate.
My understanding is that the area where Gabby's body was found was not very far away from where Brian Laundrie could have gone and sought help for her if he wanted to.
Can you provide any explanation? And this would be one of the first questions that I would ask for Mr. Bertolino, who did have conversations with Brian before he went into the Carlton Reserve and claimed his own life. Is there any reason why, that to your understanding with this story and this version of events, why Brian didn't call 911 or specifically seek out help in another form before carrying out, in his words, or in really laying it out for our audience here based on the story that he presented, what was a mercy killing?
Well, I can't answer that. I wasn't there. I can only say that I don't believe his story.
Okay. Do your clients believe the story?
Oh, no.
Where does this fit in now legally, Pat? Going forward, you and I had conversations earlier this week about how this was just coincidence that the pretrial hearing, the hearing on the motion to dismiss, was on Wednesday, and that just by pure coincidence that today, Friday, the 24th, June 24, 2022, that today was the day that you and Bertolino were at FBI Tampa to pick up and receive this evidence. Where does this now fit into the legal picture as far as the civil lawsuit? There are so many people around the world who have been clamoring justice for Gabby, and so many people around the world that have just been clamoring for the truth overall. So where does this now, we're getting a lot of new information today. We're hearing the new story that has been presented by Brian Laundrie in his final words in the notebook. You're now talking about a letter that exists between Roberta Laundrie to her son with some aggressive language on the envelope of that letter, and then also as well now a digital note that you says partially contradicts the written note that we have presented in front of us today. So where does this all fit into the puzzle that is this civil lawsuit?
I think it's too early to tell. I want to wait until through the discovery process we have all of the information, and we have the Freedom of Information. We get our documents through the Freedom of Information request, and then I'll be in a better position to analyze where it all fits in.
I have submitted a Freedom of Information Act request as well. Are we on? Are we expecting to hear back on that FOIA? Now that the FBI has released that evidence, are we in an accelerated timeline to get perhaps some of those FOIA requests responded to? I
can't answer that. I can't speak for the FBI.
Okay. Pat, with Mr. Bertolino defending, of course, his clients, and of course you advocating for your clients, a big question, of course, that has come into this is, and we were talking about this earlier, is remorse, and whether or not Brian expressed remorse, and whether or not
you guys in the chat think he had remorse. Also, just put a little poll, the notebook release, if you believe it's coincidence or strategic. And also, if you could help me out with the likes, it's like 800 people and we got like 200. If you could just hit the like button, that helps out with the stream and stuff. Thank you.
You believe that Chris and Roberta Laundrie have remorse. Stephen Bertolino on News Nation, speaking to Brian Enton the other night, Wednesday night, said that he and his clients have no regrets with how they handled the situation. So remorse is something that I have asked questions about.
Thank you, Rachel.
I've asked our audience here, and 76% of our audience has said that they don't believe that Brian was remorseful as far as his last words here. Do you believe that there is remorse in the words of Brian Laundrie, and do you believe that there is remorse from Chris and Roberta Laundrie as well?
I can't speak about Chris and Roberta Laundrie because, no, I'll certainly say I've not seen any remorse on their part. As far as Brian is concerned, in reviewing this notebook, I'm not seeing remorse in it. I'm seeing a lot of self-pity, but I'm not seeing remorse.
It's a good word, yeah. Self-pity.
What do you think is the future of this story? We went into this live stream, and some people commenting along saying this is over, it's time to move on, other news in the world that we need to be focusing on. And then, of course, that's what one of my friends told me, that sent me a message. It's too cancel worthy to play on here, and I wouldn't do that without permission. But yeah, she was kind of going in, but the gist of it was kind of like, it's time to move on kind of thing, like, or like I don't know, something along that lines. And she, believes they were both toxic for each other and stuff, but obviously one person's dead. Now get the letter providing this explanation, and this opening up new questions, this opening up now even more questions, because you're telling us that this is only a small part of the story. You're saying that there is more to be told. Where does this go from here, Pat, before we let you go?
Just getting started.
Wow. I guess until we get Judge Carroll's rulings, I don't know where this goes. But if we get the ruling that we're hoping for, I think there's going to be a lot of information that we get to discover that has not been made public to this point, because the Laundries have remained quiet. So I'm hoping that as this moves forward, we'll get more information from them.
And what is the end goal? You're filing a civil lawsuit. There's the wrongful death lawsuit. Of course, there's monetary amounts listed in these documents. What are your clients? What do Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, Joe Petito, Gabby's father, what do your clients want as a result of all of this now coming out 6 months after the FBI concluded their investigation?
Well, they want everyone. Well, what they want at the end of all of this is justice. They want Brian Laundrie's estate held responsible for what Brian did, and they want a jury to tell the Laundries that what they did, with the knowledge that they had, having had the relationship that they had with the Petito family, that what they did was wrong, and they have to atone for it.
Pat Riley, calling in to WFLA Now to...
That was a really good clip. Lindsay was telling me about that earlier. And so I did the poll. 10% say they believe it was just coincidence, the notebook release. 90% say it was strategic, with a purpose. What I'm going to do is, because I saw somebody wanted to call in, I'm going to read the note again. I'm going to try to make it kind of brief, but for anybody that missed it, and this is I saw a couple of releases of this by the news, of the typed out transcript of what he was saying. So I guess I could have, or I could have the original note on one side if you guys actually want to see the note while I read the transcript. I guess either or is fine. Okay. It says, Gabby, I wish I was right at your side. I wish I could be talking to you right now. I'd be going through every memory we've made, getting even more excited for the future. I can't live without you. I lost every day we could have spent together, every holiday. I'll never get to play with, it says unintelligible. Again, never go hiking with TJ. I loved you more than anything. I can't bear to look at our photos to recall great times because it is why I cannot go on. When I close my eyes, I will think of laying on the roof of the van, falling asleep to the sight of a meteor shower at the Crystal Geyser. I will always love you. That's kind of that end right there. I don't know if you guys rather just see the transcript, but I think a lot of people have saw these images. I don't know if you want to read along with the transcript, but so it continues. Yeah, I will always love you. If you were reading Gab's journal, looking at the photos from our life together, flipping through old cards, you wouldn't want to live a day without her, knowing that every day you'll wake up without her. You wouldn't want to wake up. I'm sorry to everyone this will affect. Gabby was the love of my life, but I know adored by many. I'm so very sorry to her family because I love them. I'd consider her younger siblings my best of friends. I'm sorry to my family. This is a shock to them as well as a terrible grief. So some of the words are different from what I read earlier. That's that page. And then let me see page 3. And this is all just pity stuff too. I mean, he's saying all these like wonderful things, and the same person that killed her, you know. They loved as much, if not more than me. A new daughter to my mother, an aunt to my nephews. Please do not make this harder for them. This occurred as an unexpected tragedy. Rushing back to our car, trying to cross the streams of Spread Creek before it got too dark to see, too cold, I hear a splash and a scream. I could barely see. I couldn't find her for a moment. Shouted her name. I found her breathing heavily, gasping my name. She was freezing cold. We had just come from the blazing hot national parks. That's where that page ends. Then let me see, page 4. So the transcript gives a little bit more clarity. So this is his story. Let's see. Okay. In Utah, the temperature has dropped to freezing and she was soaking wet. I carried her as far as I could down the stream towards the car, stumbling, exhausted, and shocked when my knees buckled and knew I couldn't safely carry her. I started a fire and spooned her as close to the heat. She was so thin, had already been freezing too long. I couldn't at the time realize that I should have started a fire first, but I wanted her out of the cold back to the car from where I started the fire. I had no idea how far the car might be. Only knew it was across the creek. When I pulled Gabby out of the water, she couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger. Her feet hurt, her wrists hurt, but she was freezing, shaking violently. While carrying her, she continually made sounds of pain. Laying next to her, she said little, lapsing between violent shakes, gasping in pain, begging for an end to her pain. She would fall asleep and I would shake her awake, fearing she shouldn't close her eyes if she had a concussion. Okay. She would wake in pain, start the whole painful cycle again while furious that I was the one waking her. She wouldn't let me try to cross the creek. Thought like me that this fire would go out in her sleep and she'd freeze. I don't know the extent of Gabby's injuries, only that she was in extreme pain. I ended her life. I thought it was merciful, that it was what she wanted, but I see now all the mistakes I made. I panicked. I was in shock, but from the moment I decided I took away her pain, I knew I couldn't go on without her. And there's just one page and a half left, about to be done. I rushed home to spend any time I had left with my family, which to me is kind of like, bro, like, how did this family not know? Did they really not say nothing? Did they really not have any conversations about this? And I don't know, now with this new letter that they're talking about with Roberta, it seems like maybe they did know something. And, you know, I wanted to drive north and let James or TJ kill me, but I wouldn't want them to spend time in jail over my mistake. even though I'm sure they would have liked to. I'm ending my life not because of fear of punishment, but rather because I can't stand to live another day without her. I've lost out whole future together. Every moment we could have cherished. I'm sorry for everyone's loss. Please do not make life harder for my family. They lost a son and a daughter. The most wonderful girl in the world. Gabby, I'm sorry. As I'm reading this now I've read it before several times, but now as I'm reading it over again and again with you guys, I kind of see a little bit what people are saying. I'm not going to feed into the conspiracy. I'm not going to do it, but it almost sounds like somebody else wrote this shit. I can't lie. Kind of sounds like that a little bit. Go easy on mom and dad. I don't know. Somebody else tapped this shit up. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm not going to do it. So it says, the most wonderful girl in the world, Gabby, I'm sorry. I have killed myself by this creek. So weird. Because how are you talking if you killed yourself? I guess he's talking about the future, I guess, even though it's present. I've killed myself by this creek in hopes that animals may tear me apart, that I may make some of her family happy. Please pick up all my things. Gabby hated people who litter. It's just odd. Weird. Weirdo shit. Okay. I'll open up the lines if anybody wants to call, give an opinion. I don't know if I had other stuff. Maybe. I have to take a look and see. Let me do this real quick here. Open up the lines. Open up the line. Need a car chase. No, I gotta get started on some news stories as well. I'm just trying to balance everything out because I have a lot of stuff going on personally too. So, all right, let's see. But there's people out there that believe Brian's story though, or at least saying it's very plausible. But a lot of other people are saying, well, why didn't he just call 911? Then people are saying maybe he didn't have service, but then Brian Enton says he did have service, or there is service out there. People are saying he freaked out. Maybe that's why he didn't do it. All right, let me call in.
Thank you for calling.
Okay. And this is happening. Oh, okay, Brian Enton's going to interview the attorney tonight as well, I guess, and speak about the letter. I don't know if he's going to reveal anything new or if it's just going to be the same kind of information. There was an interview as well that Brian did. I wonder if he posted it. He interviewed Bertolino recently, I think before this hearing. Dial around. Got to check that out.
The beliefs, but
go through this and
That's another clip. Oh, here's Stephen Bertolino. All right, let me take this call first, but we can take a look at that clip as well for people that missed it. 407, that's Cheeks. Is that Cheeks?
Okay.
Or the imposter?
Yes, I'm
It's
so
the other
sorry.
407 number.
So okay. So first of all, I've already had a really crazy ass Friday. We're not even gonna get started on that.
Oh,
like,
man. Hope it gets better. Okay, good.
Well, listen. Like,
All right,
they got
me.
better when I seen YouTube notifications was finally acting right. Okay, they had me thinking like, damn, did Mel not pay a bill? Like, why didn't I get a notification? Okay, cool.
I've been hearing a lot of people say that they're not getting notifications. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it last time. If you were looking in the chat, and I was looking at the chat, and a lot of people were joining late as hell. Like, I was like, damn, did the chat
right.
like did it not go to anybody? So just FYI, put that out there. But excuse me. But nonetheless, I did get it. So
Okay.
I get on here and I see this and I'm hearing everything. I'm trying to do some stuff, and of course the service is shit, so I'm kind of playing catch up. So from what I'm understanding, they supposedly found this letter of him explaining what happened to Gabby,
Right.
and then professes that he's killed himself. Please don't blame my parents. Whatever crap.
Mhm.
And they found all of this, and their lawyer has Roberta wrote a letter and told him to burn it.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
but so we don't know the contents of that letter. Or
Okay.
it hasn't been released publicly, but they're saying that there is some letter that Roberta had wrote to Brian, and that it was found in the home. Oh no. I think it was found in the van and brought in the home or something like that, but they were able to get a hold of it. And so that might be part of the evidence that comes out if this thing goes to trial, if the judge approves it. And then they're also saying there was another event, another story that I guess they're saying Brian wrote another story in an electronic device, and it's different from this notebook. That it's not exactly the same, and there's different details in there. That's what they're saying now too. Okay. So far, we've only gotten this 8-page thing, but they're saying there's more that's going to come out.
Okay. So let me just go ahead and say this right now, based on what I could gather, because I've got everything in, and I'm like, all right, cool. Now I can make a little bit of sense of this. That letter is so bogus. How you realize that a person is lying to you, and I guarantee you a lot of people in the chat will be like, holy shit. When a person feels the need to over-explain a situation, like giving you detail for detail for detail, I think a lot of people look at that as sus. Like, Slim, just say this is what happened. There's no need to go into all this intricate detail. She was gasping for air and calling my name. She was so frail, and it was so freezing. Slim, you guys were trying to cross the creek this is what you're trying to tell us. You guys tried to cross the creek. Unfortunately, she had an accident where she may have caused some type of, blunt force trauma to herself, and you freaked out. Okay, this is what you are so specific with detail, it doesn't make any sense. A lot of people will tell you, those people who call in from work, and instead of just being like, bruh, I'm not feeling this today, it's always some elaborate shit. Oh, my car got broken into. Can't come in today. You know what I mean? That type of situation. So that's why this letter is giving me those vibes. Like, he's over-explaining so much. And I'm like everybody else, like, you're in a national park. Isn't there not rangers that drive around there to make sure that people aren't doing nefarious shit there all the time? So you're telling me you can flag somebody down? It's a national park.
And I'm trying to remember how far really Brian says that car shouldn't have been that far from the creek or whatever. Brian Enton said that he posted a video.
I'm telling you, the way that you read it, you made me feel like if I'm literally trying to picture all of this shit go down the way that he's saying it, he's making me think that he had to walk like a whole football field to get back to the van. Like, oh, I had to start a fire, and it just gives you these images in your head, and then I was like, it really wasn't all that far, and we had service, like we were out here streaming, like 5G, they got it together. Like, it's just, it's too much, and the fact that there is an electronic version, okay? There's a softback and a hardback version. This makes me think that the electronic version is the version that we all know to be true. Which therefore led Roberta to write this funky ass letter, probably telling him, like, you cannot tell anybody. You need to sit down and get your facts straight. Because why? What evidence is there in that letter that you would not want this letter to be found by anybody? It couldn't just be shredded, because they can piece that shit together.
And why did he burn it? Why did he burn it?
But right, that's what I'm saying. Why would you tell him to burn it if there's nothing incriminating in there? Why would you tell him to burn it?
Right.
But then you also have to ask yourself, why would your dumbass, if you told him, like, if he electronically, why would you do a carbon copy, paper trail? At this point in time, everything is traceable. We all know this. I don't understand why people keep thinking Snapchat is the way to go when you want to do some nefarious shit, because clearly they can still pull that up. But it's like, if you're not having a verbal conversation and verifying that there's no microphones or nothing is bugged or whatever, everything is going to be. Why would you be so stupid to give him a carbon copy of something that you would then tell him to obliterate to the point where there is nothingness? Ash. That's what you want. After this is ash. It's not. It's this case is so infuriating, and I can play devil's advocate and say that yes, I wish that we could move on from this, but there's so much shit that's in this. It's kind of like you don't want to see somebody do some shit like this and just be able to get away from it. I told you from the very beginning, and even the lawyer said it. They don't, they don't really want much, but they want the courts to let these people know that what you failed to do, which resulted in the death of our daughter, or at least the prolonged, anguish of us not being able to find our daughter to rest her peacefully, you have to be held accountable for that. You have to be held accountable for that. And that's what he just said. He just wants them to be accountable. This whole thing is just, it's so frustrating. And everything, I swear, it's a chess game. It's like every move that they make, they try and make it strategically. I don't know if this doesn't, give us light, or if this makes us fear from his parents to be like, oh my God. No, because your son is like trying to sell it like Amber Heard. This just sounds like some shit Amber Heard would have conjectured on the stand to Camille, and Camille wasn't having it. Like, this is just so, you remember how she was using all these, these big words, describe. It was magical. It was, just trying to feed into your emotions. That's what he's doing. He's playing, he's doing this pity party. Woe is me. Look at me. I was stuck in this situation. I didn't know what to do, but I love this woman to death, and I would do anything for her. Slim, if you would have done anything for her, why wouldn't you have called the cops? Why wouldn't you have called, the nature station? Why wouldn't you have called your parents in that moment so your parents could have helped you the proper way? Now they're over here trying to help you, go off to wherever it was that you figured that you wouldn't be extradited, and now here we are today. Don't feed us all this bullshit in this letter because, woe is me, woe is me. Somebody said it. He's a narcissist. It seems like this whole entire situation is about him, failing to realize that Gabby was the one who, unfortunately, she's the one who's, you're both not here, but I mean, she's the one that you came home and didn't have with. It's stupid.
Let me ask you your thoughts on this too. Because, they say the cause of death was manual strangulation / throttling.
I was just about to say, how do we explain that? How do we explain that? I
don't know. So I guess, and the thing too, I was thinking, because in the letter, he claims that like she had this bump on her head and then it got larger. Isn't that something that I don't know if they would have detailed in the autopsy?
Say anything about it?
Not that I know.
Did the autopsy say anything about a hairline fracture, a skull crack, any evidence of blunt force trauma, any of this? You have not explained any of these injuries that she received. You're trying to tell us that she slipped and fell essentially. She didn't break her neck because clearly you were able to, try and comfort her. She, you may have carried her, but it was out of fear because of this lump. Our kids fall all the time and they get lumps, and they can get up and, seem fairly well afterwards. You're telling me that this was so bad and it was so freezing and all this other stuff. It's not making any sense. And I really feel like he's just woe is me. Take pity on me. Understand, I was stuck in this situation. This is what I thought I should do. Please don't blame my parents. Oh, now I'm going to do this grand gesture of killing myself by this river. Tear me apart, animals. No, I'm not buying it.
Right.
I'm not buying it. It's just too placated. It's Amber Heard, so on the stand, so, grandiose, like, oh my gosh, woe is me, and I'll never be able to live again, and all this other stuff. And it's like, you wouldn't be able to live again. You love this woman so much. But
Said, the autopsy said blunt force trauma. I didn't see that. Let me look again.
It's
this one I was looking at. This one I'm looking at. I'll look and see if there's another something full or something. But this one that I see, all it says is manual strangulation / throttling. Unless there's something else I haven't seen, or if there's like an actual.
Did they call into question the coroner's report? Because you know how they like to do people sometimes. Once you do something messed up, they want to scrutinize everything that you've done. Did they ever say like, "Oh, the coroner, he got caught for using his"?
I thought I remember there was some drama with this guy. The Brent Blue.
Remember the situation.
There's something happened.
He was contracted. He was contracted through like the hospital, like the county hospital, and he was using his work computer for personal shit.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know how sometimes they'll
But no. You know what happened? This guy was a beater too, a woman beater. Allegedly, his history came out. Remember that?
Oh yeah, didn't he have a gun?
He had a gun or some shit. He was beating this woman. Yeah. The coroner that did the autopsy was a beater.
Jesus
Yo,
Christ. So that's what
I forgot
I'm saying.
about that.
They never did they ever call
Let me look that up.
like you know how sometimes they'll try and discredit you and then they'll go back to all your previous cases and be like, yeah, we need to double check and look at this because now that we know this about you, your personal or your professional opinion might be in the question. Did they do that to him on this?
I don't know. But to be fair, I guess the case, I think it was an old case. But I remember we pulled up the article because there was an article on this thing.
Right.
The guy did some crazy shit. Yeah, I mean.
His ex-wife or ex-girlfriend was the one who said it. And yeah, I remember. Listen, get back to where we were because we're just going. It's just, I don't believe this letter. And if Brian, quote unquote, wrote it, or I can't. No. If he wrote it, it was literally for somebody to take pity on him. He's not telling us the truth in this letter. He really isn't. This electronic shit that he's got going on, that's the meat. That's the grit. That's the truth. And honestly, listen, does the judge have to be recluse from shit like this, or does he know what's going on like in real time while he's steady making this decision on whether or not we're taking this to trial? Because if he doesn't have to, blindside himself from seeing these articles and whatnot, and he knows that this shit has happened, I really feel like this might pretty much sway him to be like, yeah, let's take this to court. Let's see what else is going on, because this don't make no sense. This is
all right.
It's too sus now.
Thank you so much, Sheik. Yeah, I appreciate you calling. I'm gonna get to other people, but thank you so much. I know we could go back and forth, but you reminded me of a lot of things that I forgot about, especially this guy. I was like, oh, I forgot about that. The crazy story with him. But thank you.
That's still so crazy. Dude is out here beating women and chopping up bodies illegally. God. That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess so. Phone is calling. Shit.
All right, now. Let me get off the phone because I know people want to call.
Okay,
I'm going to keep listening in.
Thank you.
Bye, bro.
All right, let me get 864. Been holding for a while. Thank you. And I'm gonna look for the people are telling me check for the full autopsy. So we're gonna pull that up too. And also, 864. How you doing? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mel.
Hey, who's this? And thank you for holding.
Dusty. I'm calling from North Carolina.
Dusty. I think I saw you in the chat.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. You did.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you for calling.
So I agree with a lot of the things that your previous caller said, and I've never called into YouTube ever on any show, and I follow a lot of people. He said in his note, the one you read, he crossed several creeks. There's only one creek. It's not a river.
He said trying to cross the streams of Spread Creek. I don't know if he said several.
Right. Well, he said it multiple times. He crossed this
streams
creek
is like,
and this creek.
Right.
It's not a river. Like, your ankles don't even get wet in a stream. He said he couldn't see. He felt the blood. But then he said he could see the bruise on her forehead growing.
Right.
There are so many contradictions in what he said, and like everybody's saying, they lived their life on social media. So whatever was written in, and I'm sure they kept journals. I'm sure they both kept journals. But I would believe the online journal far beyond the written journal. We have to remember that literally they spent millions of dollars searching these swamps for weeks. And literally, we all watched it live. When Roberta and Chris went out there, and within, 15, 30 minutes, they found his stuff.
Right. when they went back out. Yep.
That doesn't.
That was crazy.
Right.
People were going crazy. I remember the internet going crazy when that happened. Mm-hmm.
That
They
doesn't
walked
make
right over the
sense.
spot.
So
Well, they said that. I guess it was like 30 minutes, but that's crazy. That place is huge. They walked right over there.
30 minutes. They spent millions of dollars searching that for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, they bring the laundries out there. And within 30 minutes, we have everything we need. We have the corpse. We have the gun. We have the notebook.
Mm-hmm.
We have the cup of Gabby's. But not only that, they said, which is the Petito Schmidt lawyers today said, you know, from the FBI, this wasn't from Bertolino. This was from the FBI. They found this note in the Laundrie's house that came from the van.
Right.
We all know that the van was parked in their driveway, closed. They cleaned it out. Per Brian, I would assume. And then they searched the house and found this letter that Roberta says, burn me, you know, burn, whatever, burn when read, whatever. To me, that's enough to know that they knew. They helped him clean that van.
Allegedly.
That letter was found in their home after they cleaned the van. I feel like the van was the place of the murder. I mean, that's what I'm going to say. That's in my personal opinion.
Oh, okay.
150 yards from the creek where her body was found. Her flip-flops were found in the video of the other YouTuber that broke the story that found the van.
Red
Right.
Bethune?
Her flip-flops were outside that van in that video. So I believe that the place she was murdered was the van. He parked the van. He pulled her 150 yards to the creek. And that's where they found the body. He came home after the fight that was recorded all over the internet at the shop, you know, downtown. And that's where I think it was premeditated. His mom wrote a note, put it in his bag, sent him back, hoping he would find it. And he did. And he did exactly what his mother said. Yet he didn't burn the note because he didn't have time. We know he texted people from her phone, Gabby's phone. We know that he used her credit card on the way home. And we know that this letter had to be written in that time. Look, I have the times pulled up. So, what was it, August 23rd? Nighttime where they were was 70 degrees.
I think it was
Nobody's freezing.
I thought they thought the day of death was like, no, wasn't it the 27th? Or
okay.
I'd have to
on the 27th of August. On the 27th of August, it was 70 degrees at night. On Saturday, 70 degrees at night. On Sunday, the 29th, 66 degrees. Nobody's freezing there. But he said she was so thin. He makes it sound like in his journal, they'd been stranded for weeks. And they hadn't eaten for weeks. She was so thin.
Yeah, 27th. They believe that he murdered her on the 27th.
70 degrees at night.
Oh, you're saying it was 70 over there?
It was. I'm looking at it right now. Yes, 70 degrees.
I haven't heard anybody else say that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2021. Thursday, August 26th.
I've heard people say, kind of like hoaxes saying, I've heard it was between like 30s and 40s between.
Nope, 75 degrees during the night, 81 during the day. It was a clear day, no rain. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now, and that's what I'm saying. Even if it was 45 degrees, I'm in North Carolina. I live on a mountain. We have, look, it's been 95 here today. With the index is 105. You know, it's hot. I can take the heat. It's the humidity. I live on the Appalachian Trail. You know.
Oh, you live on the trail?
I do.
Are you there right
not
now?
going to freeze. I am. I'm sitting outside my driveway. My husband's looking at me going, "What the fuck are you doing?"
You guys have
Yeah,
signal?
no idea.
You got internet out there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I have goats and horses and chickens and ducks. I run a rescue, so.
Okay. That's cool.
But what he's saying doesn't make sense. I have a Broad River runs less than 200 feet from me. It's a river raging when it rains. I have a creek too that runs through my property. Big difference. And that's what I'm saying. He says through the creek, through the spring, you know, he was 150 yards. Your last caller said, what, a football field? Like, that's a long way. You know, that it isn't a long way, actually. You know, I mean, and again, if he left her there, he could have gone to the car, driven 2 miles, and had service. But he chose a mercy killing?
Yeah, no, it's odd.
That
especially
journal?
That type of, like, strangulation is pretty, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Right, that journal just...
And he did carry, right?
He did carry. It doesn't make sense.
I wonder if he had the gun with him at that time. Like, why strangle? You know, I mean, that's how he killed himself, was by gun, right?
Well, because ballistics is going to show a gun. But point being is, had she just died of natural causes and he went and called somebody, it would have been verified that she had a contusion, that she fell. You know what I'm saying? But you don't mercy kill. What the fuck is? Sorry, what is
Weird
that?
shit. Some overseas shit.
Who strangled somebody to mercy kill them?
Cancel.
And as they're killing them, they bang their head on a rock to give them a contusion. No. This journal that they're putting out, and that's so strategic, like literally 24 hours that came out. We've been waiting on this for forever. And they go to court. We watch them in court. And then here we are today, 24 hours later, seeing the journals of Brian Laundrie. It's definitely strategic. It's not true. And then hearing the attorney say that there's a digital copy, they live their lives on a digital journal.
Right.
I would like to see Roberta's handwriting. I agree with that 100%. You know?
Well, thank you so much for calling. Sorry to kind of cut you off,
You're
but
welcome.
there's a couple other people holding.
Yeah,
But thank you so
fine.
much for your feedback. I appreciate that. And it's
Thank
cool
you,
you're calling
Mel.
out from the
Thank
Appalachian
you.
Trail. Well, hey, real quick, one question. When the whole thing was happening, they thought Brian was out there. Did you think he was out there?
I did.
Really?
I mean, you have
Were
John
you searching for
Walsh
him?
saying he's out here. I was. Everywhere I went, I looked.
Really?
You know, but you had John Walsh saying that. I mean, you know, you're looking. If they say he's here, I'm going to look. Everybody I see. I never saw him. But, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I was looking.
Hey. All right, awesome. Well,
You
thank
never
you. I
know.
appreciate the call. Yeah.
Thank you, Mel.
All right, take
Keep
care.
up what you're doing. You're doing
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Nice call. I'm going to try to keep it moving because more people are starting to call. 562, how you doing? Where you calling from?
Hi, Mel. This
Welcome.
is Bianca from Long Beach, California.
Bianca, what's up? Welcome. I was just there in Cali.
Thank you. I know. And you guys didn't come see me?
I feel like I'm going to have to do it because I didn't know I had so many Cali people, and I checked my analytics. And then when I posted stories on my Instagram, people were like DMing me, yo, you're in Cali. We got to hang out. So I'm going to do a trip sometime where I let everybody know. We can like maybe meet up or something somewhere. Go out.
Yeah,
It'd be nice.
a meetup would be so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very fun. So I originally found you during the beginning of this whole story. And I've been watching you ever since, and I watched every single day of the Johnny Depp trial. It was so good,
Thank you.
and I so appreciate you. I don't know how we got through that one.
Yo, that was
crazy.
I know, and that was how many weeks was that? They said 6 weeks, I think. There's other trials they're talking about, like the Lori Vallow. They're just gonna be like 3 months. I don't know that I could do something like that.
I know.
That's
It was
hardcore.
rough.
I was burnt
It
out.
was
Yeah,
hard.
My ass is still hurting when I sit on this chair from that trial. Still sensitive.
But it was so good, and I miss your pussycat voice. When you say pussycat.
Pussycat! Miss Pussycat,
Oh,
Elaine.
yes.
That's
oh my
epic.
God, I love that. That was so funny. So I don't really have anything else to say other than what everybody else has said pretty much. But yeah, it's totally fake. There's like no remorse in that letter because he's lying.
And you don't believe his
then,
story that this was like she fell by accident. He just was mercy killing. You don't think he's alive either, right? And some people think he's alive.
No, I never believed that. I never believed he was in the garden. I never believed any of that.
Okay.
But
Oh, that garden thing.
yeah,
Oh my God.
Oh my God. His hand is sticky. That was crazy. But yeah, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. I was watching another channel when it first came out, and he was reading the letter, and I was like, what? This is so fake. And there's like so many things, like what, are we back in the 1800s where you just have to like shoot somebody and move on? It like makes no sense. And then why are you taking advice from somebody who has a head injury? Like, you're saying she fell and she got hit in the head. She has a head injury and she's telling you to kill her, and you're listening to her, or you're listening to her tell you, you know, like what to do and how to take care of her. It makes zero sense. But yeah.
I agree. I'm curious to see what else is going to come out. Oh, one final question too. Do you think that, I don't know if you're leaning, like, what do you think the judge is going to do? You think he's going to push forward with the lawsuit and the civil case, or think it'll be denied? Are you leaning any way?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's 50-50 right now. I think I got, when I was watching that the trial the other day, not the trial, but the hearing, I guess it was, to see if they're going to dismiss it. Like, the judge seemed to push back a lot more with the Laundrie
I thought so too.
attorneys
Yeah.
than the Petitos. So, I mean, that kind of gave me a little bit of hope. I'm hoping that he'll just say, okay, let's just go to trial, just so more stuff can come out. But it's never really going to be resolved because so many people have so many opinions about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least if they have the trial, I think that they'll be able to, we'll have more information other than all this crazy stuff that the Laundrie attorney decides to release. It's just so weird. The whole thing is so bizarre. Like, I don't understand how people believe all this stuff, but I don't know. I'm praying.
Well,
I'm actually praying that they go to trial. But,
yeah, so I'm kind of curious to see what would come out, the other evidence that they have, the witnesses that they have. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm hearing they have a lot more evidence that they can't really show. So who knows? But yeah, I am looking forward to whatever the next thing is that you're going to do.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing
Yeah, appreciate all the support.
I never would have gone through that.
Yo, so many people told me like it was fun. There was people that told me like they were like, "What the hell are you doing, Mel? Like, what the like? This is the wrong choice. What are you doing?" But it was such a fun thing. It was kind of a break, and it was also serious too, a serious topic. So it was definitely an interesting journey.
Your reactions are so hilarious.
I was so burnt out. I couldn't even. There was times like at the last week or two, I wasn't even trying anymore. Like I couldn't even react anymore. I was just so over it. The last couple of days too was like horrible. The power was going out. The internet was going out. I just at one point I just said F it. Like I just said fuck it. Like I give up. I threw my shirt in the corner. I was just done. But it was a hell of a ride.
Yeah. Well, you never would have known it. You're just so good. I just love your show. So anyway, that's
Thanks.
all I wanted to say. And get
all right, Bianca.
to the next person, so.
Take care. Thank you for calling. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, I've seen Bianca on the chat a lot, and she's always supporting and like really positive. So thank you for calling. 714. How you doing? You're calling from. Thank you for holding.
Hey, is it me?
Yes. Hey, welcome.
Oh, hey, Mel, it's Lawlers.
Lawlers. Hey, how you doing? I know you've called before. We've spoken before. And you've called during the Johnny Depp thing. You told some of your story.
Yeah, Johnny Depp. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started following you though with the Gabby Petito case.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I called in at that time, but I had a couple of things on my mind. So first of all, I think people are saying like this is the letter that was found in the Laundrie's residence, but I'm noticing it has water damage. So to me, that makes more sense that it. Did you say no? Sorry.
So the one I'm looking at right now, the one that has the water damage, that's the one they found out in the reserve or whatever. But now it just came out today from WFLA that there is another letter, and there's a letter that Roberta had wrote to Brian's and saying to burn this letter after you're done reading it. And that letter was found in the house. It was in the van or something, but they moved it into the house, and that's where that was found. So that's what they're referring to with that one. Two different things.
Oh, okay. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to like piece everything together because I've been at work and driving and whatnot. But,
yeah, no, it's all good.
But yeah, assuming that Brian wrote this letter and everything, the first thing that came to mind was how he was like very controlling, and like according to witnesses, how when they were fighting, he would have her keys and try to leave and take the van.
Right.
So my theory is that, there's always some truth in lies. Like people use real experiences to kind of conjure up their stories that they're going to tell to hide, the actual truth. And, I feel like maybe they were arguing. He was like probably trying to leave across the creek. She probably followed him. There was probably like some physical altercation where, she, got that blunt force trauma, whether it was like from a rock or him hitting her. He probably did take her back to camp. She was probably really messed up and injured. And I think he probably did panic and end up maybe strangling her to death because, he knew he wasn't going to be able to get away with it this time, like the domestic abuse. And then the other thing I found interesting is how he said that he was hoping like animals would tear his body apart.
Right.
And, it kind of, again, I think it showed like a window into his thinking. I think by leaving her there out in the elements, he was hoping that animals would tear her body apart and not leave any evidence, and that maybe he would get away with it. So I think this whole thing about, I would like back to spend time with my family and this and that, like this whole sob story he's trying to give, no, he was not merciful. He was doing it for selfish reasons. He was going to try to get away with it, and it didn't go to his plan. And that's why he took the coward's way out and killed himself.
I agree. I've always felt too, before even a lot of the stuff came, I always had my thought was always like the guy just snapped, like he freaking snapped. And then also, so August 27th is the day they believe that caused her death. By the way, Rachel, thank you for sending me the link. You guys were right. So it's blunt force injuries to the head and neck with manual strangulation. And this was the same day as well that the whole, I believe, Mary Piglets thing happened earlier that day, where they were at this restaurant fighting and arguing. So I think this dude snapped, or maybe he pushed her or something, and she fell in the creek, and then maybe he wanted to finish it. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing that's BS. It's like he said, well, I didn't know how far the car was. It's like, dude, you've been camping there at least a day. Like, you knew, like, what were you guys doing on that other side of the creek to begin with if you were rushing back to get to your van? It just doesn't make sense with what the information we already have. And, obviously at the time he wrote this, he didn't know that we would know all that. He probably thought this would be like some believable story. And I think the people that know enough about it know that it's just bullshit.
Right. Well, thank you.
Anyways,
appreciate the calls.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. So thanks for doing the calls, and I'll keep an eye on your page.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Lawlers. 334. How you doing? Where you calling from?
Hey.
Hey, who's this?
Hello?
Hey.
Anna.
Anna, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good.
I wanted to call and comment on the letter and say, I think it's bogus in the way of, like, the way he's explaining his love for her. If you've ever been fortunate enough to love somebody like that or experience that kind of love, like, you just don't, he would have gone for help, or even if he did look at her and she was gone, he wouldn't have just left her out there to the elements and
right?
I agree. No, I don't
Like
think he would have.
if you truly love, and the way that he was writing that letter, that he loved her, couldn't live without her kind of love, he wouldn't have just left her laying out there. To me, that's where it comes off as bogus. Like, that's bullcrap. And let's say a tragic accident did happen and you got her as far as you could get her, you'd go for help, right?
I would. I would think I would. I would definitely not be strangling somebody. That's some weirdo shit.
Right.
But.
Or let's say in that tragic accident, you realize that, like, she's died. Are you going to panic and be like, whoop, better go home and spend time with my family while I got it?
Yeah, no, that's
or
crazy.
Are you going to, like, hey, some bad stuff happened, right?
Right.
So to me, that's all I wanted to say is the letter's bogus to me. Him saying that kind of love is, I think he loved her in the way of, I want to control you and nobody can have you if I can't have you. But that's not love, right? That's not true, real love.
Not controlling somebody. No, not like that.
No. He left her out there. If you've ever loved anybody like that, there's no way that you would leave that person out in the middle of nowhere, to the elements just to take them and do what no. There's no way.
Well, thank you.
He didn't love her.
He
knew he screwed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Covering it up.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the call. No problem. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. I put a poll in. I don't know if maybe I should have let her. Maybe I should have let her talk a little more. If she wanted another point to express. But I put a poll. I'm canceled. Is Bertolino a good attorney? And so 22% say yes, 78% say no. And that's if you can look at it, try to look at it objectively. Is he a good attorney? Not from like, he's a scumbag because of this and that. Like, what's the right and wrong? As an attorney, if that's you representing you or whatever, his job is to, I guess, protect Roberta and whatever the other guy's name is. Is he a good attorney? And that interview was just so crazy to me. That first one, I don't know if it was the first one, the one he did with Ashley Banfield. Actually, was crazy. Okay, let me get the next call. 613, how you doing? Where you calling from?
iCkEdMeL, it's James from Canada. How are you?
James, how you doing? Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
You called before, I feel like, right? I feel like you sound familiar. Like, have you called before?
I've never called, but we chatted on Facebook.
Okay.
I sent you a video of my dog going crazy. You had the cat on your
on the TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That was awesome.
Quick and just say that hi to all your followers. I also came to you watching this case and found it interesting and have turned all my friends onto watching you as well. And I just wanted to say that Brian Laundrie is a weasel, and I don't appreciate or approve of any of his story. It just seems all fabricated, and we're all smarter than that. And Gabby was a very lovely kid, and that didn't deserve to happen to her. So rest in peace to Gabby.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, his story is bogus. You're not buying any of it, and you're not into the conspiracy stuff, like he's still alive or that like his parents wrote the letter or something like that.
No, I think that's silly. It seems pretty concrete. I know they had a hard time finding him, but the water and everything out there just seemed like it was tough. But it look at all the time that was wasted in people's manpower and money just with the show that he put on. There was just a much better way to do that. He should have just manned up at the end and taken his punishment. Yeah, man. I just wanted to also say Camille Vasquez was a boss in the Johnny Depp trial. I watched that with you and all your followers.
Yeah, they hired her for the next case too, the one that's coming up that Johnny has with that other person, that guy, and she got a promotion.
I would hire her too.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw her. That's fantastic. It was cool to see her shine, and it was against such like an alpha female in Amber who just seemed to be lying. It was so great to have a strong, competent female put her in her place. It was just perfect in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that too.
Used her own. Yeah, her own words and the facts against her was just glorious. So
Amazing. Well, thank you, James. Appreciate you calling, man. Supporting the show.
no worries. Thanks for everything.
All right,
Appreciate
take care.
Really.
Thanks.
Thanks. We'll keep watching. Enjoy.
Thank you. All right, you too. Thanks.
Bye.
520, and I think after these we'll probably end the calls. 520, how you doing? Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. Nice. How's it going? What are your thoughts on?
I just feel I think with the whole thing, I think it was just selfish, and I think he was a coward, and I think that he had wanted so much control that he just decided that he had to control the ending as well, you know. And you know, if it wasn't for those YouTubers that accidentally, you know, because they had their GoPro on accidentally, they would have never found her. You know, and then they bought time, and then the mom even she changed the reservation for the camping, like of how many people prior to Brian getting home, and he even did the stand text and, you know, to the grandpa, and that was odd, and used, like you said, used their card and stuff. But then remember, he was hitchhiking, and some of those people that had picked him up said that he had to get back to his girlfriend because him and her had gotten into an argument. I don't know if anybody recalls that, but I know one of the people said that. So I think he was just selfish. He was a coward. And
maybe she was going to leave him
because they had
fought that day earlier that day. Maybe she was going to leave him, and he didn't want her to leave.
Yeah, and then he had already slapped her in public, and then already got pulled over, so he's already on the radar. You know, and so he's so narcissistic that he has to have that control that he, you know what I mean? He felt like he lost control, I think. So, you know, and then he does that dark art, and he read those dark books, and, you know, so he's like, well, I'm just going to make my own story up. To have his own selfish, you know, glory or whatever he thinks in his mind, you know. And I think the mom, you know, she knew. So I think that case with the, you know, the civil case, I think they're going to be able to prove that. I hope that they take it to trial, because I think with her changing the reservations prior to Brian getting home and knowing that Gabby was living with them, so why wouldn't they wonder where she's at, you know, or not know where she's at, you know? So that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. Gracias. Thank you for the call and supporting. All right, you too. Thank you. All right. 2 more calls. 270. How you doing? Where you calling from?
Hey, it's Kay Smalls. How are you?
Hi, good. Welcome. Thanks for calling. How you doing?
Thanks. I'm good. I'm pretty good. I had oral surgery this week, so I can talk now.
I don't know why I thought I was gonna, in my head I was thinking something else. But when you said oral, I don't know. No, don't. Just go ahead. I thought you were gonna say something else. I don't know why. Oral surgery, right? Gotcha.
Oh my Lord. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. All right. So listen, I've got a couple of theories. I've got a channel 2 here on YouTube, but my computer is crashed, and all my stuff from this case I'm waiting to get back. So I didn't know if you actually had looked at the postcards whenever they posted them. I think it might have been H.L. Lynn. Did you get a screenshot of those that were sent to the sister?
No, not that I remember.
Okay. Really interesting stuff, okay? You want to look at the dates on those postcards, and you also want to do the comparing on the handwriting. I think there's a possibility that she may be covered up, because some of those postcards were supposed to be from Gabby, and I don't think that they were. I was going to do a whole series on it. It's on my other PC, so just waiting to get it back.
Where can we see that?
It's really interesting stuff.
You have it somewhere?
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. No, I've not done it yet.
Okay.
It's kind of like every, cases keep happening, and then this stuff got brought back up, and it's like, oh, ding, 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 I forgot. I've got all that stuff on my other PC. So another thing, too, I was in banking for 6 years. I used to have to open, accounts, CSR stuff, CDs. And whenever there's an account, usually say there's a death, there's a probate, which typically lasts about 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you all think that the award money was exactly $10,000, and that's the same amount that was put into the account? So do you think that maybe there's a possibility that the Laundries made a deal and received that money, because didn't they go to court or something
wanting to get that out of probate, or it was something to that nature.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the amount was exactly the amount for his to find his body, you know, the award money, blah blah blah. But as far as money, when they got pulled over, wasn't there something mentioned in Idaho, I think, where they said they were having money troubles, this and that. Well, does anybody know if their Instagram account was monetized? How were they making a living? Does anyone know that?
The Laundries, I don't know. I heard rumors.
No. Gabby and Brian. Gabby and Brian.
I have no idea. That's a good question. I don't know if their parents
well,
are giving the money or what to do. Yeah.
Well, as far as I heard, they were having money issues. You know, they typically like to go search for food, you know, mushrooms, stuff like that. And I posted something on my TikTok account a while back versus YouTube, because TikTok's a little more lenient and stuff, and I just put a bunch of things together. There was a lot of bank robberies around the same time they were traveling, a lot of unknown bank robbers, and there was one in particular, like I said, it's all on my other PC, but the tattoos on one of these bank robbers on the hand matches Brian.
Oh.
You know how he had the certain tattoos on the fingers?
Yeah.
Very, very similar. You know, it's kind of like a conspiracy, but still, I don't think that guy was ever caught right around the same time. And I just found it very, very interesting. So something else you may want to look into. I don't know.
Well, when you finish the series thing that you're working on, you said it's on the other computer.
Yeah.
If you could email me sometime, because I'd like to check it out.
Okay.
Have a look.
You want me to put anything
you're gonna post it as a video?
Subject line?
Or how are you going to do that? Are you posting as a video, or are you just posting?
Not one video, because it'll probably be a series of 2 or 3.
Okay.
If you want, I can send it to you before I post it. You just have you look at it. I can put the unlisted link, because I'd really like to have your views on it.
I'm curious. Yeah, and I was kind of having a little hard time following, but yeah, I feel like if I get a visual, because I feel like I know what I've seen postcards before, but I never looked at it. The ones you're talking, actually looked at the dates or whatever.
It's very interesting, and I think his sister knows exactly. If she's listening, I'm sure she knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh shit!
Yeah. All right. Well, I won't keep you. I appreciate you taking my time.
All right. Take care.
All right. You're welcome. You too. Bye.
I just thought of Donna too. Damn, I wonder how Donna's doing. Donna, 434. How you doing? Where you calling from?
Hi, it's Hefe. Say what? FKA Anne-Marie Singh.
Hey, Anne-Marie, how you doing?
Good.
Welcome.
Groovy. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me call. Okay. I think we need a little giggle moment here. So everyone put on your tinfoil hat, because I'm a big conspiracy theorist.
All right, let's get it.
When they found Gabby, she was complete body, no fingers missing, no hands missing. Apparently, they're in the wilderness. No animals got to her body, correct?
Shit, testing me. I have no idea. I can read to you. We can look at it together real quick again. Shit, I had it here.
I appreciate it, because here's where I'm going with it. You can bring it up so we can read it. But here's where they only found his skull, correct?
Shit, I ask me. I thought it was a partial skull or something like that.
Partial skull. Okay, here's the conspiracy theory. That man is alive.
No,
he's alive.
Don't do it. No.
He's alive. Don't you watch these Law and Order and these absolutely amazing things where they can place teeth in a partial skull?
Body doubles. Place with
DNA?
DNA?
Because they can't identify a skull, but they identified him through his dental records. Where is the rest of his body?
And they got those dental records fast, right? They got
by teeth.
Quick.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and just a partial skull. It doesn't make sense. And the letter, I kept asking. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
I have to figure out what to say.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
She could be nailing it. I have nothing to say. I'm like, okay, where am I going with this? The letter, I kept asking if it's dated. When people write journals, they leave journals behind for everyone to know the time of my pain until the time I killed myself. Where are the dates on these letters? And all of a sudden he's writing to Gabby after murdering her.
Yeah, this was
the guy's alive.
It seems like it's after the murder. Yeah, I mean, there's no dates on there. I guess he just wrote.
Yeah.
Because even Roberta's letter has no dates either, which I guess, I don't know. Yeah, but there's no dates.
Doesn't make sense. But you know what has dates, and you know what we can't see right now? That printed or phone text or iPad vlogs or whatever, those have dates and times. So it's very conflicting. This is something's going on. It's either to shut people up. It's either to, we're not talking about this anymore. We're not suing the family. Something's not right.
Let me see if I can look up exactly what they found with Brian Laundrie. I mean, let me see. Brian Laundrie.
I thought it was a partial skull. No.
Let's see. I thought it was
partial skull. Her whole body, but partial skull. And then the parents are walking around taking walks everywhere the cops were not.
Over here it says, for Brian, investigators found only skeletal remains for Brian Laundrie, so who killed himself. Let's see.
Well, where would they get partial skull from skeletal remains? That's a big difference. It's just not right. What the truth is and what, I don't know. And I don't even believe the police anymore because what they did not take from that house the first time.
Well, the funny thing with him too, because he's the one that called his own death with that letter talking about let the animals eat me and shit. It said it showed moderate to extensive animal predation by carnivores such as feral dogs, coyotes, rodents, and raccoons. Most of the distal long bones have moderately extensive carnivore activity evidenced by multiple gouging and gnawing marks. So this shit's animals were all tearing him up. He got the wish, or he spoke into existence what he wrote in that note. His death note. Death note. Anybody that's watched the anime, Death Note. He wrote his own death and shit, and that shit happened for real.
Oh, how disgusting. Good for him.
But with Gabby, it doesn't. Right. The only thing with Gabby it says is like it was blunt force trauma, injuries to the head and neck, and manual strangulation. I don't know.
Yeah.
If there was anything else as far as animals and things like that.
I bet you they're probably too sympathetic to even say that because they found the poor girl after so long looking for her.
Probably, yeah.
Aw. All right. So I don't know where all this came from, like skeletal parts and half eaten, and I don't remember that when it first came out.
I don't remember it either. This one article has it.
I thought it was a partial skull, and that, yeah. Well, you never know. This could be dated after too.
And this is BuzzFeed. I don't know about BuzzFeed. This is BuzzFeed. I usually like to look at a couple of articles before.
BuzzFeed said you were smoking a joint yesterday at a restaurant. That's how reliable they are. Unless you were. Okay.
Well.
Speak no evil. Okay. Well, I love you. I love this team. I love you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. God bless you and the family too. Thank you for all the support. You've been riding for a while too, so thank you.
Amen, brother. I got you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Those are some really nice calls. I appreciate that. I kind of lost in my head a little bit. I used to have like an amazing gangster timeline. I used to have a Facebook plug. She had all like every intricate things that the media didn't even have. She had it. Oh, there was also, I forgot, there was somebody on Twitter. I forgot her. She was the plug too for the timeline that was constantly ever changing. And so I don't have those dates anymore because the only thing I had was like a really basic ass timeline on my OneNote. The other thing too we could do real quick before we head out, I guess. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. This was fucking therapeutic for me tonight. I think I needed this just to come on and talk and hear you guys. I think I still have this here. Just wanted to squeeze in this. And by the way, I did a poll as to who wrote the letter. Jazz came up with this concept, which is pretty funny. And I said, who wrote the letter? Brian, Roberta, or Chris? 50% say Brian. 43% or 42 now believe it's Roberta that did it. And it's still changing a little bit. And Chris is 7%. And for a while, it was pretty close between Roberta and Brian. People believe Mama wrote that shit. Let me check the chat too for a little bit. Thank you, Jackie. Let me check. Yeah, I gotta check the chat. You guys got some good information. So Jackie says that at first the talk was only partial skull was found of Brian Laundrie. And when final okay, yeah, I remember that. At first it was like a partial skull or something, and then it came like the rest of the body, or I don't know what happened. Thank you, Floozy. Let me make sure I get the super chats too. Rebecca, thank you for becoming a member. I think you were already a member, but you upgraded. Appreciate that. You're an amazing person. We've talked on Twitter and Instagram. C Dow, thank you for the super chat. Says he's full of it. I don't believe any of it. Martyr Boy. And Carrot, thank you for the super chat earlier too. MH, I hope you're doing well. I hope things are going well in Africa. BL is on the run with a fugitive yoga woman. Davey Crocco, thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. Heffa say what? And thank you so much for the super chat. I know that's your new account, I think, right? You deserve so much more, but my card seems to disagree. Love you, Mel. Thank you. Brian's definitely dead. There's people that seriously think he's alive. iCkEdMeL, but was BL forced to write? Spicy, what's up? How you doing? Crisscross, thanks for coming too. Thanks for helping. All right, so let me play this letter and let me end this poll. Play this letter. Play this video.
Laundrie's Let me ask you this, Mr. Bertolino.
This is Bertolino. I feel like, you know what I want to end off on? I'm going to play this little clip, but I want to watch the original shit. Or I don't know. Is it funny? The original Bertolino interview on, yeah, I think that shit was a good clip. On Ashley Banfield. I'm going to look for it.
Bertolino, you've obviously been giving the Laundrie's legal advice through this whole process. A lot of people would say, from a legal perspective, you've given them very good advice because they haven't been in trouble so far in any sort of criminal
40 minutes
trouble.
long?
You've kept them out of trouble. But do you have any regrets, I mean, along the way? Do you think you should have had them talk to the media or perhaps seem a little more human? Even though you protected them legally, do you think you made any mistakes along the way, since now they are really in many ways just, you know, it seems like hated by the world?
You know, hated is one word, vilified is another. But in the end, Brian, you know, you asked a very good question. You know, it's emotional for me. It's emotional for Chris and Roberta because we are friends. They did lose a child. They lost a young man that I knew since he was born. And yeah, that's upsetting.
Oh,
I'll tell you what I told the FBI when they left my office the last day and said, well, Brian's dead now. And I told them, look at me. I did everything the right way. We have no regrets. The parents did everything the right way, and they have no regrets. Brian, what you have to understand is that Brian Laundrie was a grown man. He was a young man, but he made his decisions, and we had to abide, especially myself as his attorney at that time. We had to abide, and I had to abide by the decisions that Brian was making. And with that in mind, we made every possible step that we thought was good at the time, with the consultation of Brian involved in that. And there were some things that we certainly can look back and say, what if? And Chris and Roberta and I had that conversation just today after this hearing. And I had to remind them of certain situations and certain conversations that were had. And we all circled back to, yes, we are very comfortable with the decisions we made. We're not happy that Brian is gone. We're not happy that Gabby is gone, but I don't think we could have prevented either one of those.
Do Chris and Roberta want to speak out at some point? I mean, when this civil lawsuit is over, at some point, do they want to share their story?
The answer to that is they were close. I mean, there was a long time they were angry. They were angry for many reasons. They were angry for the people outside of their home. They were angry for people not understanding that this was not their doing, that they lost a child, that they're suffering too. They were, lightening up a little bit from that anger perspective. And, there may have been a point in time where communications could have had taken place. And now we're back into, we'll say, round 2 or round 3 with the Petito family. And somebody asked me earlier on a program, if there was a sit down, a 4-way, if you will, of the 2 families, could this be resolved? And my response to that was, the only thing that the Petito family has done as far as communication is thrown out Twitters and thrown out letters to the public. Not once.
But come on, Mr. Bertolino, though. For you to listen, we're not going to go after the Petitos. I mean, come on. I mean, we know what they've gone through.
You're asking me.
We're not. Yeah.
You're asking me, Ryan. You're asking me.
No, but they can tweet what they want.
Resolution. Could there be conversations? There has never been an olive branch reached out to our side. The only thing that's been out.
But why is it there? I mean, their daughter was murdered by their son. Their daughter was murdered by the Laundrie son. Why would they be the ones to put out an olive branch? I mean, I think we're just going to disagree on that point. But Mr. Bertolino, as always, I appreciate your time, and I thank you for coming on tonight.
My pleasure, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Okay. I want to end off with the gangster interview, the crazy ass interview. So maybe we can have a little bit of a laugh. Kind of, or I think it was funny. I think it was just kind of crazy. The Bertolino interview. There's 2 video clips because I remember Ashley Banfield had him on back, I thought. And so there's one video that's 20. We're not going to watch both. There's one that's 20 minutes long. I think it's the 20-minute one that was kind of gangster and crazy. And then there's a 40-minute one. They both okay. This was October 21st. Let me check out this one. "20 seconds. This was the day after. And so I remember shit went crazy the first time. So we're just gonna watch the first one. But I'll put the links. I don't know. I'll put the links, but I probably won't put the links. I'll try to put the links. It's News Nation. If you just type Steven Bertolino. But yeah, we'll watch this one. It was crazy if you missed this. I remember when this thing first came out, I was like, oh, shit. I think it was the first one. Stephanie, thank you for the super chat. I hope you're doing well. I remember your name. I've seen you before, Stephanie Bates.
Mr. Bertolino, we thank you for your time. Some major news today, and the remains have been identified. Tell us what you've learned.
Just a short while ago, I confirmed with Chris and Roberta Laundrie that representatives from the Northport Police Department visited their home and advised them that the remains were positively identified as those of Brian.
Have they been asked to identify the remains in person?
No, they have not. We had previously provided items for DNA testing and confirmation, and my understanding is that is what was used to identify the remains.
Under the circumstances, I think, first of all, this is difficult news for any parent to receive. How are your clients doing?
I've been using the word distraught for the last couple of days now, and they're extremely upset. And for some unknown reason, there are still people outside of their home, yelling and screaming and causing a ruckus, which any parent that's grieving the loss of a child should not have to deal with that.
This has been a difficult few weeks for so many families, the Petitos as well. Do your clients understand the focus and attention on them?
Of course they understand it. And it's been, how should I say, it's been very difficult to bear.
Many have asked why they got a lawyer, why they hired you.
And?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. I'm going to ask that again. Why did your clients lawyer up?
You used the term lawyer up. I've been a friend of Chris Laundrie for over 25 years. And when I got a phone call from Chris advising me that he was getting some inquiries from law enforcement, he asked me if I could assist him. And of course, I was more than glad to do so.
At any point in the last 5 weeks, have you spoken with Brian Laundrie?
Yes, I
Was that a
spoke to
fart?
Brian Laundrie
When you say he farted, I thought it was like a motorcycle driving by or something.
on September 12th and September 13th.
And what can you share about that conversation?
Isn't that Ashley Banfield? Who is this? Do I have the wrong interview? It looked the same to me. Hold on, let me see.
Brian Laundrie may be
Oh,
dead.
you're right.
It's me, Bertolino. Why? And later, of me on the set of Alec Baldwin's film. Well, the saga began.
Which is Which is the one the dude went snapped? Was it with Ashley? Do we have to do 40 minutes of this show? No, not Ashley. So this one was Ashley. Who he snapped on? The Ashley one was better, right? Okay, my bad, guys. Don't cancel me. But just 40 minutes. Are we gonna do 40 minutes? Can I even get away with 40 minutes of video?
Questions that have been so
We can
confounding.
fast forward a little bit.
Why did Brian leave his fiancée in Wyoming? What was his state of mind before he left home for the reserve? And what, if any, role did he play in the death of Gabby Petito? Fortunately, I'm joined by the man who has a lot of those answers, possibly, the attorney for the Laundrie family, Stephen P. Bertolino. Mr. Bertolino, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you've known the family for decades, so this is an emotional time for them, probably for you as a friend, but you're also, their attorney, so I'm very thankful that you're here to answer questions on their behalf. And I'd like to just start with the simple. When did you become involved with the Laundrie family as their attorney pertaining to this particular case?
Yes, good evening, Ashley, and thank you for having me. I would say that was on September 11th.
I'm getting flashbacks now.
So you didn't speak
Should we do it
with
faster?
Brian or Roberta or Chris between September 1st, when he arrived back in Florida, and September 11th, 10 days later?
I can tell you I didn't say that. What I can tell you is any conversations I had with Brian, Chris, and Roberta would be privileged and confidential. What you asked me was, when did I become involved for this particular case, and it was on September 11th.
So then presumably before September 11th, if you had conversations with them, say September 1st to September 11th, those 10 days, those would not be privileged because you hadn't been retained as counsel?
Well, that's not true either, because I've been the Laundrie family attorney for well over 20 years. So any conversations I have with them with respect to legal matters would be privileged and confidential.
So when Brian came home to Northport,
It's just ride or die. They got a 20-year confidentiality agreement or whatever.
on the 1st, as is evidenced by a card reader, a license plate reader, seeing the white van coming home. How did you have your first engagement with the family? Was it a family meeting? Was it a conference call? Like, how did you first connect with them after he had returned?
Again, any conversation I've had with Chris, Roberta, and Brian, was by telephone. But the dates and what we discussed are all attorney-client privileged and confidential. And I'm sorry to say that I can't speak about those things.
Counselor, I fully understand that you cannot reveal those privileged engagements, the content within. I'm just sort of going around the contours of it, if you'd allow me to. And that is that I'm just curious about, because as I understand it, I'm talking to you in Long Island, correct?
That's correct.
Too fast?
And the Laundries have always been in Northport.
No, they haven't always been in Northport. They lived on Long Island for many years. I don't know exactly how many years they've moved down to Florida.
Sure.
But,
Understand. I just mean for the purpose of this particular engagement, say from September 1st on, you did not go to Northport to engage with them. You really had to do this from afar.
That's correct. Everything has been, by telephone, text message, or how should we say, FaceTime.
Or sort of these group Zooms. Did you have like the family, group FaceTime or the group Zoom like this?
No, we didn't. We didn't do something like that.
Conference calls?
We've had a couple of conference calls, yes.
And when you had the conference calls, I'm just thinking of myself as a mother. And if my son were, engaging with our attorney, it would be difficult. And I was curious about how Mrs. Laundrie's reactions were, how she was digesting. And again, you don't have to tell me what you were discussing. I understand that's privilege. But just the reaction, the nature, and the sort of taking all of the information in real time. How did she manage that?
Actually, I don't want to give you an interview where I can't answer any of your questions, but, it seems like most of the questions you're asking are going to border on the attorney-client confidentiality that I can't answer. If you're asking me, in general, what has been, Roberta Laundrie's demeanor and disposition over the last 4 or 5 weeks, I can tell you she's been very upset. She's, again, been distraught, and in the last couple of days, she's grieving.
fully understand. And again, I'm not going to press you on what was said. I'm, again, trying to go around the outside as best I can to get the color, the essence, and the feel of what the family was going through in those early days between September 1st and September 11th when Gabby Petito was declared missing. And even thereafter, up until the 13th when Brian himself left for the hike and didn't come back. I guess all I'm trying to...
There was one time when we were covering this story that we were watching John Walsh. Was it John Walsh? And was he talking really fast, or I had it sped it up by accident? Something. He was savage. He was talking really fast. I'm like, damn, what's wrong with this guy? It was a really, really funny moment. Everybody was tripping out. But this is sped up a little bit. This thing is really long.
To get a feel for is that the family meeting with you were the can I put it this way? When you had the family meeting with them via electronics, was it a happy occasion?
Often I tell people, as an attorney, I often don't get to deal with that on happy occasions. So, you're using a term happy that I would never use. What I can tell you is every conversation's been serious. Every conversation that I've had, as any attorney would have with their client, doesn't necessarily border on happy. And I don't mean to beat you up on the use of that word. But what I can tell you is I'm not at liberty to discuss anything prior to September 11th. You can ask me many different ways, but I'm going to keep giving you the same answer. All of that is going to be attorney-client privilege. Anything after
without
September
divulging,
11th,
sure.
And when it gets really intense, I'll slow it down a little bit so we can get the real feel of it.
Without divulging anything they said, were they at least all three of them, able to engage with you and fill you in on their perspectives of anything that you were discussing?
On September 12th and September 13th, yes, absolutely.
All three of them could fill you in on how things were going within the household. Your discussion as a group was full and rich, and you could get a feel for what was happening in that household through your conversation with the three of them.
I had private conversations with Brian. I had private conversations with Chris. And I had private conversations with Chris and Roberta separately. I can tell you that, I had an understanding of, how the house was functioning at that point in time.
But you didn't have the family together, the family unit together to find out how they were coping as a unit?
There were a couple of conversations where, all, three members of the family in that household were together, yes.
Okay. So presumably, and what days were those conversations? Because it's, the mood and the change in what happened in the dynamic of that family is important. What days did you have those conversations where you knew how all three of them were feeling at the same time?
I would say Sunday the 12th and Monday the 13th.
So those are critical days. Can you tell me the demeanor of Brian Laundrie on the 12th and on the 13th? And when I ask you about demeanor, I'd like to try to get specific. Did he seem suicidal?
No. And I literally just spoke to the family, Chris and Roberta, maybe 45 minutes ago. And, we repeated this conversation or that question. And, Brian was not, outwardly suicidal. And what Mrs. Laundrie, what Roberta just said to me, she goes, how do you really know, what do you really know what somebody's thinking? And, we can suspect what their mood might be, but what do you really know what's going on inside? And I can tell you that, Brian was alert. He was coherent. When he was speaking with me, I had no inclination or indication that he would hurt himself.
I have heard you say.
The balding men. Vic said he ain't got no hair. What? Are you talking about Bertolino or Brian? They're both losing hair stuff.
Say on other interviews just in the last 24 hours that he was grieving. And anyone who is grieving is sad over death. Was he sad over the death of Gabby Petito when he was grieving prior to going out on his hike, from which he did not return?
And Ashley, as I've said, all day long, because I know I've been getting heat on the use of that word. Yesterday was a very long day. The day before that was a long day. One of the last interviews I gave of the evening, which was a last minute thing, I used the word grieving, which I had been using all day long with respect to Chris and Roberta and the news of the death of their son. I clarified that. I said he was upset. He was distressed. Chris described him to me as he was leaving. And this was several weeks later when Chris and I were talking about it. He said, Steve, he was upset. He was distressed. I knew I shouldn't let him walk out the door, but I couldn't stop him. I used the term grieving. It was probably a poor choice of words. And everybody has pounced on that and said, well, what was he grieving? Who was he grieving? Grieving was, used by myself multiple times yesterday with respect to Chris and Roberta. And it was a poor choice of words to be using for Brian.
So did Brian know that Gabby was dead at that point?
I can't answer that question. What Brian knew or didn't know would be privileged. It would be confidential, and certainly not something I can discuss now.
And respectfully, Counselor, I understand your privilege, but as a journalist, I do have to ask: did Brian kill Gabby?
That's it's a tough question to answer. Other than no, to my knowledge, I can't say that he did or didn't. I'm sure the FBI may be able to fill those answers in at a different time.
Do Chris and Roberta Laundrie know if their son killed Gabby?
I can't comment on that either. I mean, what Brian told, when I say I can't comment, you're asking me what the parents knew, what their son told them. I do not know.
You have mentioned in other interviews that there will be time as you know, we move ahead in this story, for more questions to be answered, perhaps more secrets to be revealed. Clearly, there's no exposure for the youngest member of the family that you represent. He is no longer, he can no longer be tried for anything, even posthumously. So there's zero exposure other than legacy for Brian Laundrie. For that reason, how long will it be until you can actually tell us these things?
You know, as I said, you know, there are some unanswered questions. There are some issues that need to be resolved. You know, there are, you know, charges out there still in Wyoming. There are certain things that I even discussed with the FBI today with respect to Chris and Roberta that still have to be resolved. There's been a lot of accusations. There's been a lot of finger pointing. And, you know, those issues will be resolved in the coming days, weeks, or months, however long it takes. You know, this is just wrapping up in the last 48 to 72 hours, and we're going to need some more time to work through this.
Mr. Bertolino, what do you expect is going to be found in the notebook? Because the Northport police are saying that it is indeed salvageable.
I have no idea what's in the notebook. You know, to my knowledge, the notebook was something that was maybe on the trip. I've heard many different things about this notebook. You know, I don't know if Brian wrote a suicide note or if he wrote a goodbye note. I don't know if it was just a notebook that contained drawings. We'll have to wait and see what's in there.
Mr. Bertolino, is it possible we might see a confession in that notebook?
Again, Ashley, I don't know what's in the notebook. You know, the FBI may disclose what they find in there. They may not.
You are one of the last 3 people who spoke with him prior to him leaving with that notebook and a backpack and a dry bag. Based on his demeanor, and I'm not asking you to reveal what he said, based on his demeanor, would it surprise you if there were a confession in that notebook?
You know, after the way this case has played out, I don't think anything would surprise me. At this point, you know, even the fact that the Laundries, Chris and Roberta, are the ones who happened to find the items and the location of the remains, everybody seems to be suspect on that. There have been so many twists and turns in this saga. You know, I don't think anything would surprise me.
Do I take that as a no? It would not surprise you if there were a confession in that notebook?
I'll stick by my original comment, which is, you know, nothing's going to surprise me in this case.
You may be bolstered to know that the Northport police back up this notion that Chris and Roberta simply stumbled upon the dry bag and the notebook within about a 30 to 45-minute walk, whereby the authorities and millions of dollars of the highest tech equipment could do nothing of the sort in 38 days. For the public, it's confounding, and you have to respect just how the magnitude of the coincidence. The Northport police is saying it's also coincidental. But do you know any other information that would prove otherwise, that it is not coincidental?
You know, literally before this interview, I was on the phone with somebody who, you know, has more information about that than I do. The cameraman that was there that filmed this, you know, I have thanked the police for being there. I have thanked the cameraman for being there. And yeah, I do understand that the public says this is confounding. It's unbelievable. But everybody who's been there and everybody who has firsthand knowledge comes back and says the same thing. This is the beginning of relative to the beginning of the preserve. This is where Brian was known to hike. If he went into that preserve and did something to hurt himself, and maybe he did it right away, you know, it would be expected that he would be found there. So, you know, as coincidental as you say it is, it really is not such a far stretch to say that if Brian did in fact go to the preserve to hurt himself, you know, and he did it right away, it makes perfect sense that that's where it is. The park was underwater. I'm sorry? Sorry to interrupt. Do you know if he took any kind of medications out with him in the backpack or in the dry bag that might have contained any sort of substances that would have helped him in a quest to commit suicide? I have no knowledge of any substances whatsoever, either prescribed or otherwise. Do you have any knowledge of the contents of the dry bag or the backpack? Not at all. And, you know, to my understanding, the parents, Chris and Roberta, didn't know what was in the backpack when Brian left the house. You know, I believe we were asked that question on September 17th. And, you know, Chris and Roberta said they didn't know what he put in the backpack. You know, he just, you know, had the backpack packed and said, I'm going out for a hike. To that end, I want to talk a little bit about the timing of all of it, because the press sort of, you know, felt a little yanked around, as did the police, with the timing of when, you know, Brian went on his hike. Originally, it was Tuesday the 14th, and then late into this whole ordeal, it became Monday. I heard you speak on Chris Cuomo's program the other day, suggesting that you, in fact, were the person to call the FBI and notify them the next day after he didn't return, which would be Tuesday, correct? So it is correct that I notified the FBI, and, you know, you'll have to forgive me because the days were blending together, and, you know, I spoke to the FBI just today on that issue again. And, you know, the FBI confirmed it is well documented on their side that it was Thursday. And, you know, I was reminded that I specifically said, you know, Brian didn't come home, you know, tonight. You know, would you come home, you know, having all the press and everything else going on out there? The confusion initially was Chris and Roberta were telling me it was Tuesday, and Tuesday night Chris went out to look for him. It was Wednesday that Chris and Roberta went to look and hiked a little bit in the preserve. And it was Thursday that they retrieved the car. We then received some information from press that indicated that they had video of the car in the driveway on Wednesday. So we had to go back with Chris and Roberta step by step of each day. They had been in their home every day. The days were blending together. It was very stressful. And when we went through the period and I showed them the video clip of the Mustang on the, I believe it was the 15th in the driveway, Chris said to me, well, then it had to be Monday. And I went back to the FBI and the FBI said, yes, we believed it was Monday from the beginning, but we do understand that the days were blending together. So as I said,
this is my problem. The days blending together, and I only interrupt because I'm a mother of boys, and if my son had unexpectedly come home from a trip without his fiance, stopped talking, refused to speak to police, she's reported missing. He is, in your, as you said, mistaken characterization, grieving. I mean, that tells me that he is apoplectically sad. As you mischaracterized it as grieving, it is at the very least horrifically sad, and he walks out my door and doesn't come home. I do not forget that date. That date is etched in my mind as a mother, and I dare say that my children's father would feel exactly the same way. So I struggle with any mistake about what day my extremely distraught son went out on a hike and didn't come home.
And that may be true, for everyone. But I would also tend to bet that you haven't been in the position that the Laundries have been put in the last 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. And in that week in particular, they were in the house every day. They were going through it. I was relying on the communication they had, but there was no doubt in my mind that I was the one that called the FBI. And, I've had multiple conversations with the FBI, initially. And I even said to the FBI, I said, I know I told you that the night of or the morning after. So I was even hedging my comments because I didn't know in which conversation I had informed them. Was it the night of or was it the morning after? And ultimately, in conjunction with the FBI, we all agreed that it was Monday the 13th. The proof is in the pudding, if you will. In this case, the reporter showed me that the vehicle was in the driveway on the 15th. The FBI was, saying from the beginning of our conversations with them that it was the 13th. So when we put the sequence of events together, it was the 13th, 14th, and 15th.
And our Brian Enton asked Josh Taylor of the Northport Police about all of this timeline, and specifically your contention that you notified the FBI that Brian was missing the day after he didn't come home. And I'm just going to ask our control room to play what the Northport Police said today about that to Brian Enton. It was Josh on Brian being reported missing. It's not a flattering depiction of you, and they're flat out saying it's not true. So let me just play this moment for you and get you to comment on the other side.
Put him on blast.
Mr. Bertolino says that he called and reported Brian missing sooner than Friday, and that it was just the official report filed on Friday. Is that true?
I can tell you that the Northport Police Department, that when we got the call on Friday that he was being reported missing, was news to us. I was in the room myself. It was a very surprising moment. I can say that with 100% certainty. Whatever he may have said in passing, this is a situation where we're trying to, they were uncooperative on Saturday, not revealing any details. We got a missing young lady. Really, their credibility was, what's going on there. If I'm understanding him correctly, he says that he may have said something to someone in the FBI. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. What I know is that none of our actions and what we've said show that that's a possibility at all.
So, Mr. Bertolino, they say the police and the FBI have been in lockstep all the way through this, and that they would have known had you reported it to the FBI. How do you respond?
So, Ashley, what I just heard, if you listen closely, is that the Northport police gentleman, Josh Taylor, I believe, I don't want to get his name wrong. Is it Mr. Taylor?
Correct.
Okay. So what Mr. Taylor just said was that I purportedly reported it to the FBI. He doesn't know. And therein is your answer. He does not know. I can tell you that the FBI does not have a problem with this. Today at 2 p.m., 2:15, I had a meeting with 2 representatives from the FBI in my office, and they once again concurred and confirmed there is absolutely no doubt that I informed the FBI that Brian didn't come home on day 1. Let me tell you something else, Ashley, before you interrupt me again. I did not call anybody on Friday.
Yo, so look at her face. Like, yeah? Mira.
Tell you something else, Ashley, before you interrupt me again. I did not call anybody on Friday. I heard Mr. Taylor's press conference on Thursday. On Thursday, Mr. Taylor said, when asked a question, do you know where Brian is? He said yes. He was asked a question a little bit later in that same presser, do you know exactly where he is? He said yes. I was shocked. I immediately called my clients and said, do you know where Brian is? Because I don't, we haven't seen him. Was he picked up? Because if he was picked up by the PD, they would have to inform me. And they said no. At that point, I got I'll disclose this. I reached out to somebody in the afternoon and I got an ethical opinion as an attorney for Brian Laundrie as a missing person, perhaps. What could I do? once I received that ethical advice, if you will, decisions were made between me and Chris and Roberta. With that knowledge, Friday came. Friday evening, somewhere around 4:45, I received a call from the FBI. Let me be perfectly clear, unequivocally. I received a call from the FBI. I did not call them. It came up on the screen in my truck. I told my daughter she needed to leave the truck. The FBI said to me, we got a tip that Brian was seen in Tampa. And I said, that's wonderful, because as you know, we haven't seen him all week. We told you he was missing. And the FBI agent said, yes, we know that, but we want to come to the house to see if he's there. And I said, well, who gave you the tip? Who said this? Because I thought it was a ruse for the FBI to get into the house, was my belief. I then said to my daughter that I need to take care of this. And I told the FBI that I needed to take care of something with my daughter. We agreed on a time for 6:15. At 6:15, the FBI came to the Laundrie residence on the 17th. They came inside. We had discussions. I was here in New York, and on FaceTime with them, we agreed that the best course of action and the formal procedural course of action would be to file a missing persons report so that Brian could be located officially, so that they could put the resources into locating him. Somewhere along the line, perhaps someone from the Laundrie family household, and it wasn't Chris and Roberta, must have got the paperwork, called it in, got some kind of case number. Whatever they did, I don't know. But that's how it played out. And the FBI...
Was that Cassie?
Excuse me?
Was that Cassie who did that?
Cassie was not in the household at all. There was Chris, Roberta, there was a representative, there was two representatives, I believe, from Northport PD. There was a representative from the FBI and myself on FaceTime. For 2.5 hours, we gave the FBI all the information we had with respect to Brian. The FBI has never had an issue with this. And if you listen closely to that clip that you just played, you will hear Josh Taylor say, Mr. Bertolino or the attorney may have told the FBI, I don't know. And here's the issue. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, nobody from the FBI called me and said, have you seen...
I just remember too, like at the end of this, don't they bring in Brian Enton too? Like they drop in on him too. They both get on him. This shit was pretty funny.
Brian.
I think this is the one.
On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I did not reach out to the FBI and say, we haven't seen Brian. Because quite frankly, we didn't think he was, quote, missing. He went out for a hike. Brian had packed a bag. He routinely went for hikes for days. And it wasn't thought of that he was missing until Wednesday or Thursday, we started wondering, what do we do? And then Thursday, the events unfolded I just told you about. And then Friday, the events turned around with the FBI coming to the home. That's how it played out.
And so you're just to be clear on this, because it's not. You talked to the FBI and said Brian hasn't returned on Tuesday?
No, I didn't say that. I said,
Wednesday?
No, I didn't say that either. I said on Monday when I reported to the FBI that Brian didn't return home, the next time...
No, wait, hold it. Monday, he went on the walk.
That's correct. And he never returned home.
And you're saying Monday night? You made a reference to him not returning home, or was it the next day you told the FBI?
What I said to you was that I had multiple conversations with the FBI during, Monday and Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I did not recall whether I mentioned it to the FBI on Monday night or Tuesday morning. The FBI confirmed with me that their records reflected that it was Monday night.
So you were talking to the FBI on Sunday, even before he went for the walk. And you were talking to them on Monday before he went for the walk.
Yeah, look at his face. I think he's kind of pressed a little bit.
And you talked to them on Monday after he went for the walk?
He's breathing heavier too. I know it's a little bit fast forwarded. I think it's 1.25. But you can tell he's a little bit pressed here.
Okay, actually, you're bringing multiple issues together.
I'm trying to get clarity. That's all.
Hearsay.
Just details matter on this one.
Jeanette.
They do. On Saturday evening into Sunday morning at 11:30 p.m. on Saturday night, I got the first phone call regarding this matter. At 1:30 in the morning on Sunday was the first phone call from the FBI on this matter. At 8 a.m. on Sunday was the next phone call from the FBI on this matter. It was a different agent. It was on the initial introduction, if you will, of this case. On Monday, 2 FBI agents came to my office to introduce themselves and to discuss this case. On Monday evening, and or in my recollection, Tuesday morning, I reported to the FBI in a normal conversation that Brian didn't return. Upon going back and forth with the FBI on the actual conversation in which that was reported, the FBI confirms that it was Monday the 13th that their records reflect that I told them that Brian didn't come home that night. On Tuesday,
now that I have that up,
now hold on.
I was just going to say,
on clarity.
Yep.
On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday,
Jesus
there
Christ.
was zero communication with respect to where is Brian between me and the FBI and myself.
It's all just surprising because Josh Taylor said today they were in lockstep with the FBI all the way along. Even the Northport police chief tweeted out, get us an interview with the client on the following Wednesday. No, but that's what they told us today. That's what they told us today.
Play the clip you just played, and let's listen again where he says, I do not know. Because that's what he says, actually.
I'm telling you, they told our Brian Enton today in a whole, it's a 15-minute interview, sir. It's a 15-minute interview, and they said that they've been operating in lockstep with the FBI all the way along.
Okay, play the clip you played a moment ago, and let's listen to him say, I don't know.
You know what?
Pull it up.
We're going to wrap that clip up.
Tell the producers, let's go.
Absolutely, 100%. That's why you're here. 100%, and we're going to rack that clip up. It takes a minute or so. I'm going to go to break, get the control room to do it, and after the break, we'll play it, and we'll get the clarity on that. Is that okay, Mr. Bertolino?
That's fine with me.
Okay, we'll see you in just a few minutes.
They cut his mic out too. You know, his mouth moved, but they made sure they cut his mouth before they went to commercials.
We are back with Stephen.
Surprise! Bruh, I remember we were watching this that night. I was like, oh shit, they pulled up Brian Enton. Like, the radio waved him or they called him and like, yo, we got Bertolino here. I feel like they planned this shit. This was plotted. In case he started acting up, they were going to pull out Enton. And Enton's been there on the ground the entire time. And so he comes back and he's like, oh shit, it's Enton. And Enton looks at Enton's face. How serious he looks too.
Bertolino, the attorney for the Laundrie family. And Mr. Bertolino, the clip that we played is a full minute long, but the person who actually conducted the interview is Brian Enton. And he has the full characterization of what the Northport police told him for 15 minutes during that interview. So I'd like to turn it over to Brian Enton for a moment to tell you.
And look at Bertolino's like
exactly
shit,
what they told him. Brian, Mr. Bertolino's on with the two of us.
Hi, Ashley. Hi, Mr. Bertolino. I've been in touch with Mr. Bertolino for the last 5 or 6 weeks. Basically, Josh Taylor with Northport Police has said that the way he has phrased it, that they are at the same table, sitting at the same table every day as the FBI, sharing information, constant communication with each other. And I was thinking back to that week when the police chief had that press conference. On that Thursday, the police chief said that he had that he knew where Brian Laundrie was. But it wasn't just that Thursday. Almost every day when I interviewed Josh Taylor, I would ask him, do you know where Brian Laundrie is? And he would say, yes, we know where he is. So I was just listening to your conversation between the two of you, and it's just those interviews we did, and not just us, but many outlets were doing them with the police. They were on TV every night, and it's just hard to imagine that the FBI was also watching this and you know, had this information from Mr. Bertolino, but wasn't sharing it with Northport PD.
Good evening, Brian. How are you?
Good. Nice to hear your voice, Mr. Bertolino.
Pleasure. I wasn't sure if it was my turn. And Brian, you know, I concur. It would be hard to believe that, right? So 2 days ago, I had a conversation with somebody in the Northport PD to clear the air on this one as well. And I offered to put myself on speaker so that brass could hear it, so that the upper echelons could hear it, that I wasn't trying to, quote, put the Northport PD under the bus when I brought this up. They told me in no uncertain terms that they had no idea that the FBI knew about this. They were completely shocked on Friday to learn that Brian wasn't in the house. So Brian, everything you say makes sense. Absolutely everything you say makes sense. But I will tell you, it is not my responsibility to communicate between the FBI and Northport PD. I can tell you once again, as sure as I'm sitting here talking on this screen, the FBI confirmed in my office again today at 2:15, this is a non-issue for them. They have it documented that Brian was reported missing by me to them on Monday evening. My recollection was it was either Monday evening conversation or a Tuesday morning conversation, but I know that I reported it on day one. That being said, Ashley, you told me you would replay that clip. What you chose to do was bring Brian Enton in. I would ask you respectfully, let's play the clip. Let's hear, not from Brian, let's hear from Josh Taylor once again. I can spare the minute. Let's play it.
Well,
yeah, let's do it.
We've had 40 with you, but the control room is about to play it. So control room.
Okay, yeah, y'all make some time for this shit. Skip a commercial.
Fire away. Let's roll.
I don't know. Let's listen to
Mr. Bertolino says that he.
They like cut him off and just started playing the shit. Mute his mic.
Room is
Come
about
on.
to play it. So control room, fire away. Let's roll.
I don't know. Let's listen to
Mr. Bertolino says that he called and reported Brian missing sooner than Friday, and that it was just the official report filed on Friday. Is that true?
I can tell you that the Northport Police Department, that when we got the call on Friday that he was being reported missing, was news to us. I was in the room myself. It was a very surprising moment. I can say that with 100% certainty. Whatever he may have said in passing, you know, this is a situation where we're trying to, you know, they were uncooperative on Saturday, not revealing any details. We got a missing young lady. Really, their credibility was, you know, what's going on there. if I'm understanding him correctly, he says that he may have said something to someone in the FBI. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. What I know is that none of our actions and what we've said show that that's a possibility at all.
Do you see what they said? Nothing that they say says that it's a possibility at all. I mean, did you hear that last line, Mr. Bertolino? Nothing that we've seen says that's a possibility at all.
What he said was he may have said it in passing, and then he said, I don't know. That's what he said, Ashley. I'll take
No,
the
he said it's
apology
not a
now.
possibility at all.
No, he didn't say that. Not with
I don't think he said it's not a possibility at all. I think he said he doesn't know. Did he say not a possibility at all? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's possible they weren't communicating, but I mean, Brian was saying that these people were literally sitting at the same table, like the Northport police and the FBI. I mean, is it possible that they didn't communicate that? I wish the FBI would have cleared this shit up.
said, Ashley. I'll take
No,
the
he said it's
apology
not a
now.
possibility at all.
No, he didn't say that. Not with
Brian Enton, did he say? Mr. Yeah, I think we should get Brian Enton, and he conducted the interview. He sent us the tape. We've now played it twice. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I just had a quick question for Mr. Bertolino that I was thinking about. I mean, if he was at home watching the news all week and hearing the police say that they had eyes on Brian, and the Laundries were watching the news or were hearing from Mr. Bertolino that the police were saying that, but if they were worried about Brian and he was missing and, you know, they wanted him to be found, like, wouldn't you want to correct the record so that people would actually be looking for Brian?
So, Brian, we're not going to get to the bottom of this. You know, I'll get past the fact that Ashley won't concede that what was said out of Josh Taylor's own mouth was that I may have said it in passing and that he does not know. Let's move past that because the tape speaks for itself. What I will tell you, Brian, is we were not, at that moment, we were not concerned that Brian, you know, had hurt himself or wasn't coming home. You know, Chris and Roberta had indicated to me that Brian had gone out camping and hiking for multiple days, many, many times. He was a young man. They weren't concerned. They thought he was clearing the air, clearing his mind. It wasn't until we got the call on Friday that there was a tip he was seen in Tampa that we were concerned.
Then why did you report it to the FBI, Mr. Bertolino? If they thought he needed to clear his mind and he's an avid hiker and camper, why were you calling or talking to them on Monday night or Tuesday morning saying, yikes, he hasn't come home? Why is it an issue?
Ashley, nobody said yikes, he hasn't come home, Ashley. So let's
Why
skip
would you
that,
report
okay?
it to the FBI if he didn't come home, if he just
Ashley.
needed to clear his mind?
Lose the word report. I was having conversations with the FBI a couple of times a day on those few days. What I said to you was, in my conversation with the FBI, either Monday night or Tuesday morning, I mentioned to the FBI that, by the way, Brian didn't come home. As part of that conversation, I was reminded today from the FBI. He said, yes, I remember distinctly because you said to me, would you come home with all those press in front of your house? My contact with the FBI specifically
If I
reminded
can,
me of that
I want to keep you over the break. I'm losing commercial breaks, and it's a machine I can't stop. But I do want to ask you after the break about the Northport police saying that they lost him, that they just screwed up and they didn't see him leave to the reserve, which, you know, ended up with a dead man in the reserve. I want to get your reaction to that. We're back with Stephen P. Bertolino and Brian Enton after the break. All right, Mr. Bertolino, quick question. The police said that they lost your client. There was surveillance on him, and when he went off to the reserve, they didn't even notice the Mustang leaving. Does that mean that Brian Laundrie is dead because the police lost him, or is Brian Laundrie dead because Brian Laundrie did it to himself?
You know, Ashley, you can't blame the police. You can't blame the FBI. You can't blame the parents. I've had people blaming me for the last couple of weeks and specifically the last couple of days. You know, bottom line is we don't know the manner or cause of death of Brian. We can surmise, but let's take a hypothetical and say that Brian did, you know, take his own life. If that's the case, you know, that's on Brian. It's not on the parents. It's not on the FBI. It's not on the police. It's not on me. And I think we need to wait and find out exactly what happened. The parents don't blame the police. You shouldn't blame the police. And that's just wrong.
I have to squeeze in another break, and I have one final question for you. We've blown every break out in the show, so if you'll permit me, right after the break, I'll be back with our final question with Stephen P. Bertolino. Back with Mr. Bertolino, the Laundrie's lawyer. Stephen, there's a critical question here. I have 2 minutes left until the end of the show, but I must get you on the record on this. You told me at the beginning of the show that you spoke with the Laundrie family together on the 12th and the 13th of September, that Sunday and Monday, and you went for his walk on the Monday. But if you spoke with all three of them together, there is no privilege, and you know that as a lawyer. So what did Brian say about what happened to Gabby Petito on that Sunday and that Monday before he left for the swamp?
Okay, so Ashley, if you heard what I said, I had multiple conversations with the Laundries. I had private conversations with Chris, private conversations with Brian, and I had conversations with Chris and Roberta, and I had conversations with them together. I know these people. Some of parts of the conversations when they were all together had nothing to do with attorney-client privilege. And a lot
when you were together, what did he tell you? Because there's no privilege when you're all together talking. And you did say on this program that you did have conversations both days with them all together as a family meeting. What did they tell you? Because that isn't privileged.
I disagree. I think, you can represent multiple clients, as you know. You can get waivers of representation, as you know.
No, you can't. You can't have that conversation in criminal proceedings, and that does mean that the privilege is waived. You can do it in real estate. And, gosh, will you come back on Monday? I have 22 seconds left until the black cutoff of this program happens, but I have not finished my conversation with you, Mr. Bertolino. Would you come back Monday?
I don't think that's possible. Someone else wants me
yes,
on
it
Monday.
Has to be.
I don't know why.
I'm calling you Monday, Mr. Bertolino. Thank you for spending the hour with us.
Have a good evening.
Bro, that was it. It's kind of interesting, like going back in time now and watching that, because that was from, I think it was like 8 months ago. Something. In hindsight, it's interesting seeing things in hindsight. Let me just get the super chats real quick too. I'll check out the chat. My UK friend Colton. The UK. Do Taz. Cheeks, thank you so much for the super chat. Graduation gift from Maddie. Go get you something nice, girl. All right, I'll do that. We will do that. Dusty, I'll probably post it on the story too. We'll go get something. Dusty, thanks so much for the super chat as well. Thanks for taking my call. Can't wait to see this unfold. Bertolino is a liar too. Wobbles, thank you for the super chat as well. Appreciate that. Real estate attorney. That's true. That is true. I forgot that whole thing. I love Alta too. Says real estate attorney, not a criminal attorney. From what I remember, that is true. He's a real estate guy. Lynn, I hope you're doing well. Hope everything is amazing. I think she did good in that interview. She kind of pressed him over and over, but that one's kind of tough as far as like that little 1 minute clip that we saw. I don't know. It would have been nice if the FBI would have spoken up on that, but I guess they're not going to speak on something like that. But Bertolino seems to have done good by Roberta and Chris. I mean, we'll see what happens with the civil lawsuit thing. Guy's been ride or die, but then you got to take, like he was saying, this is not like the first time. They didn't just meet. They didn't just hire him randomly. Like they've known each other for years and years and years, decades. And also knew Brian, I think in another interview he was talking about that. So it wasn't just like a random, like I'm going to look you up on Google and hire you. He's like known this family for a long time. Oh, that's a good question, Caitlin. Is the News Nation interview up with the attorney yet?
Do you know the fact?
Not yet. I don't know if they posted it on Twitter. No, not yet. It does say when I host Banfield News Nation at 10 p.m. Eastern, but I don't see it yet. But yo, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I didn't expect this stream was going to be that long, but I thought it would be kind of a little interesting and funny to see that clip again. We'll be following to see what happens. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the judge if they move forward. If they move forward, I don't think the trial is going to be something that lasts that long anyway, so it would be probably easy to cover. And I keep saying, I say one thing, but sometimes it takes a while for me to do. I do want to start adding new stories. And I kind of want to do something I call fishing, or planting the seeds. What I like to say, planting the seeds. And so I start covering a bunch of different stories, putting things out, and seeing what grows, which one grows. I want to start doing that again soon. And I don't know, we'll see. And until the next trial, so we figure out the next trial. And the trial really depends on how long it's going to be, and like what times, and all that kind of stuff, and kind of like the interest. Because I don't know that all trials are that entertaining like this Johnny Depp one. Put up who's the worst attorney, Bertolino, Elaine, or Rottenborn. Rhymeborn. Rhymeborn. Let's see. I have an opinion, but I'm gonna wait. Let the poll go. And then I'll tell you why. Man, I'm putting the names right now. I have this like never-ending cough. I got sick a while back. Like, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then the cough just stayed lingering. I think it's Bertolino. I don't know. Shit. Never mind. Whatever. All right. So I just put in the poll, and I'm gonna tell you why I think. Why I think that person is the worst. The worst. Jaw, skull, pelvic bone. He gone. Oh, Hoke said that's what was found. Jaw, skull, pelvic bone. That everybody's dog is stung by a bee. Could be. Maybe. Yeah, Hoax. Could be that long shit. Long COVID, man. Long COVID. Okay. That's exactly what I was going to say. Ginger. I think I have ginger, but I think the ginger went bad. I do have honey and lemon. I don't have mint tea, though. I need to get some mint. Oh, I might have. Do I have ginger? I have to see if I have ginger. K Smalls, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. All right. So we got a couple of little votes in, not that many. Oh, they're coming in still. Lutfi says Elaine. That's who my vote is, Elaine. And I feel like the reason why, because I just think about Elaine and the end of the trial with Johnny Depp, and she was just all over the place. She was a mess. Rottenborn at least kind of had himself together and kind of made some points, and I thought he did a good job at least trying to make his point across. Elaine, I feel like she just lost people. Just saying a bunch of stuff, kind of really hard to follow. She was on a time limit, I guess. They didn't have much time, and I guess she had like the least time. I feel like she maybe should have used that time more wisely and made some clearer, better points and not have to try to squeeze everything in. It was just really hard to follow. That last part was just really bad. And there was just a couple of moments throughout the trial too that I remember, like she was just completely like flabbergasted. But to me, the ending, the closing statements was the worst. And so I say that. And then, I mean, I've never seen, well, maybe we'll never will. I don't know. I've never seen Bertolino. So the only thing I can go off is based off of his thing with the Laundries. I think he's done a good job on their behalf. You know, whatever, however you feel about him, you know, he's been kind of like ride or die and still ride or die. And then, yeah, so Elaine, Rottenborn, and then Bertolino. I would say in that order. I have Vicks. I do have Vicks. I'm going to do that. Vicks is good for you. Make you feel better. Hey, Bertolino, man, he's been ride or die on the press tour, still holding him down. I mean, he got pressed a couple times, but he looks like he don't give a shit either. Like, whatever. So Elaine wins 52%. Theraflu. All right, I'm gonna have to try that. I don't have any Theraflu. I'll buy some. I've had that a long time ago. I've tried it. I think it's powder form, right? You just like, it's like a tea. Oh, well, they have the liquid thing too. Are you talking about the tea Theraflu? Or are you talking about like the liquid? You just take a teaspoon or a tablespoon. Peppermint tea, money. I mean, you meant honey. Peppermint tea, honey, great for nausea and digestion. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Anna. That's a shame. I made a compilation of every single time Elaine said, "What if any?" during the trial is 15 minutes long. Did you? Do you have a channel? Is that your channel? What if any? That must have taken some time to do that shit. Let me see. What if any? Channel. Oh, I see it. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'll play, if you're okay with it, I'll play like 1 or 2 minutes, and then it's 15 minutes long. But I'll play 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll put the link in the description. So if you want to go check out your channel, and they want to watch the full video, you do that. Put the link to your thing. I'll just play a little snippet so people can hear, and if they want to go watch that, they can. Channel. I mean, it looks like you just did it for fun. I don't think you're, you know, like trying to grow, but if you are, I'll plug you in. All right, let's see.
I'll sustain the objection to hearsay.
All right. Before you spoke with Josh Drew in the other room, what, if anything, had been said about what Mr. Depp did the night before?
Objection to the extent it calls for hearsay, Your Honor. All right. Be a hearsay objection. I'll sustain that objection.
I'm asking what, if anything?
That was still solicit hearsay.
Objection leading.
Sustain.
What if any? What, if any, reason do you believe that Mr. Depp did this?
Objection.
That was not. What, if any?
What's
leading?
Recall.
No, I'll overrule that objection.
Thank you.
Objection leading, Your Honor.
Awesome, that's cool.
I can ask it differently. And what, if any?
Objection leading.
What, if any? And what, if any? What, if any, role can? What, if any, role could? What, if any, role does? What, if any, role? And what, if anything, does the term love bomb mean? And what, if any, effect? What, if any, role does emotional attachment? What, if any, role does hope? What, if any, role does destroying property? And what, if any, role does leaving threatening messages? What, if any, role does low self-esteem play?
Compound.
Sustain.
What, if any, what, if anything, what, if any, agreement? And that's my next question here. What, if anything, did Dr. Cowan, and what, if anything, did Dr. Bonnie Jacobs?
Leading.
Sustained.
What, if any, psychological abuse? What, if any, sorry, I'm going to have to go a little bit further here. So, what, if any, diagnoses? What, if any, and what, if any diagnosis?
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. What, if any?
Objection.
I didn't even realize she said it that much. That the entire trial. I mean, I guess it was just like a background thing for me, but
leading.
Sustain the objection.
What, if any, significance? What, if any, and what, if anything, what, if anything, did you buy Mr. Depp any knives during that time period?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
What, if any, what, if anything, did you do with respect to knives during the time period you were with him in the Lone Ranger?
Objection leading.
What, if anything?
Overruled.
What, if anything, did
oh my
Mr.
god!
Depp?
All right, I'll put the link for that down below if you guys want to check that out. You can check that out, and that's a shame. That's a shame. And send another super chat. Oh, thanks, Mel. Yes, it was a passion project. I like to do stuff like that too. It's kind of fun. I mean, I haven't really edited much in a while, but I do like to practice sometimes, kind of have fun and find little clips and put it together and see how it comes out. Alejandro.
And like, I'm really sorry, but I remember, I gotta tell the whole story, how they got there. Before they went and get the keys, they come down, they say, somebody tried to get into my unit, there's scratches on my door, and like, I'm really sorry, but who will think it's gonna get into your unit because it saw some scratches on the door, like, what, 4 inches above the door? Because the dog was scratching the door, was trying to get in, and they thought about someone trying to break into the unit. I said, in my head, I was like, you think someone's trying to get into your unit? There's scratches like 4 inches above the floor on your door. That was the dog trying to get into the unit. Oh my God. They were so afraid. Oh, someone's trying to get into my unit. They're like, oh, come on, really? I just so stressed out because of this. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm tired.
You're tired of this shit, yeah.
I don't want to deal with this court case. Everybody got problems, and I don't want to deal with this no more. I don't know how.
He's tortured. This lady's torturing him. He's asking the same shit over and over. We're tired of this shit.
I'm going to ask you, first of all, Mr. Presidio showed you a number of video clips from May 24th. Do you recall that?
May 24th?
Yes.
Yep. No, it's Tuesday.
But in fact, you don't recall seeing Amber Heard on May 24th, correct?
I don't remember. I don't even remember what I got for breakfast.
Okay.
It's been so long, I just don't remember. And like, I know you guys sent me the papers to review, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want to review them because it's been so long. It's like, just don't want to deal with this anymore. Nope, I don't remember.
Would you remember on any daily basis what type of hairstyle she was wearing?
Nope.
Would you remember on any type of basis what type of bag Amber Heard was carrying?
No.
Would you be able to say whether Amber Heard was dressed up or casual on any given day?
No.
To say whether what type of makeup Amber Heard was wearing on any given day?
No.
Would you be able to say, for example, whether Amber Heard had on concealer or foundation on any given day?
No.
Can you tell me what type of makeup Amber Heard was wearing in any of those videos?
No, I can't tell you.
Come on,
I didn't even know she was wearing any lipstick.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing concealer in any of those videos?
No.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard
This shit
was
is so
wearing any
ridiculous, man.
foundation in any of those videos?
No, I can't tell you.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing any blush in any of those videos?
No.
Can you tell me whether Amber Heard was wearing any powder in any of those videos?
No, but she looks really pale.
Well, do you know what shade of concealer or foundation or powder Ms. Heard uses or used at that time?
No.
Okay. So you don't know whether Ms. Heard
Johnny's just shaking his
was
head too.
wearing
What the
makeup
fuck?
in every one of those video clips, correct?
Correct.
I want to try to move along. So the incident was May 21st. The sentence, I did not notice any bruises, cuts, swelling, red marks, or any other injury.
All right, I'm gonna cut it. I'm out here. But thank you guys so much again for spending tonight with me. Love you guys. Have a good Friday night. Be safe this weekend. Don't get, I mean, I say that in case somebody dies. I was gonna say don't get killed. But I mean, don't get killed. But anyway, have a good weekend. Good night. Peace. Love you. Adios.